And welcome to the UGO podcast, Unapologetic Geek Out. Oh my god, guys, we made it. Another year.
Woo!
Another year, in
Survived
fact.
2017.
We've made it through. Not all of us. Kyle, unfortunately, we had to sacrifice him to the podcast gods. It was unfortunate. But that's okay.
Podcastion is not pleased.
I know if you just sent me a text saying, stop telling people I'm dead.
Oh, but speaking of gods of pods, why we have my co-host here talking about this year 2017 with me, the god of the pod himself, Travis.
Hi.
And
You know, Nick, there are technically still a few hours left of this year.
Yep,
Make sure you make it.
I will make it. Yeah, I will. I indeed will. I'm gonna. That's. If anything, I know this. I will make it to see 2018. I will see the end of Game of Thrones. God damn it! And who's making vows that he might not be able to keep? Why, that's me, Nick, the Merc with a mic, and your host of the Unapologetic Geek Out podcast, where you can come around every week and get all the geeky news and stuff. But who provides that geeky news? Why, it's our news correspondent that has also joined us for this year. How was your first year being on the Unapologetic Geek Out podcast been, Justin?
Help me. They won't let me go.
Never.
They say that they'll kill my family if I don't podcast with them.
No, worse. We'll make you spend every day with them.
That's
No.
right. That's right. We didn't tell him his family's already dead. Oh, what a great way to start the year.
Well, I'm doing good, in all seriousness. Yeah, so it's been fun.
Yeah, so this is going to be our end of the year show, guys. If you've not been on for us before, we're going to talk about some of our top films, TV shows, video games, and just general pop culture of 2017. This will be a list of our favorites, not exactly objectively the best, but what really tickled our fancies this year. Again, it comes with a caveat that the more we do, ironically, the more we do with this podcast and the more, conventions and stuff we do, the less time we actually have to spend on certain, geeky content stuff. So we haven't seen all of the movies of 2017 that we might have wanted to see.
Like, just going through the list, I'm like, oh, I need to see that still, and that. God damn, what did I watch?
Well,
I feel like I spent more time watching old stuff this year than I did anything current.
I'm trying to fucking catch up. And so it's a never-ending cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into all that, we have, of course, to get into the news and just general announcements. As always, all years previous and all years going on, if you'd like to get into contact with us, there's many, many ways to do that. You can just email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. You can also just give us a comment on our site, unapologeticgeekout.com. Whatever, if you want to just talk to us about whatever is on your mind, we would love to hear from you. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, follow us on there. That's the easiest thing. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter at UGO Podcast. Our Instagram's the same thing. Check out some of our
Things
con
we actually do.
Maybe some of our what we got for Christmas is also up there. I think I maybe posted a couple pictures of some of my haul. Otherwise, the best way you guys can support us is by giving us one of those 5-star reviews on iTunes. That is absolutely free. All it costs you is your time, and
which is worthless. I mean, priceless.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on it. That's a good way of saying it. Middle of the road answer.
I mean, if you're already listening to us for like a couple hours a week, I would say that your time is not exactly premium to you anyway. So, I mean, why not? Why not take the extra 15 minutes?
Right.
And we're done. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. So, yeah, before we guys get into it, how has everybody been? How was everyone's holidays, real quick?
Pretty good. I made pie.
I had pie. I really like the math equation.
No, I made pie.
You're right. You were working on your math quotients and stuff like that. Am I misunderstanding?
I used eggnog this time.
Oh, interesting. And not really beautiful minding it up in there. My Christmas was pretty uneventful. My sister accidentally got me my favorite gift, I think. And I hate saying that, all gifts are created equal. Fuck that. This one was the best. She got me the Stranger Things Season 1 collection.
Isn't it cool?
And what she didn't realize is that what she got me was it actually looks like a fucking 80s VHS case that opens up into what looks like a VHS tape. Even has one of those stickers that you used to get from the video store, Be Kind and Rewind on it. Mm-hmm. Like, it is so fucking cool. Like, it makes me think, I'm like, oh my god. It made me transport back to when I was like 7 years old, getting a bunch of VHS tapes from the movie store.
So I did hear that the art on that is actually photoshopped and stolen, so there's a bit of a kerfuffle with that, where people are like, wait a minute, that art is from my DeviantArt page or whatever. So it's
really?
Well, yeah, I know one of my friends told me that. They're like, yeah, but yeah, it's a really cool design. I got that one too, during Black Friday. It's a really cool set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the Photoshop job, I'm not sure. They obviously used, it's not exactly a drawn picture itself. It's obviously someone photoshopped it. I'm not sure if they stole someone else's Photoshop job, but it is their serviced content, so I don't know what the copyright is on that one. But it does look fucking cool. Hey, whoever got it, I'm not sure if you got paid for it or not, but it looks pretty neat.
Oh, I guarantee.
So wherever that's worth. I actually watched Gremlins this time around. Huh. A movie I don't actually watch every year on Christmas. Interestingly enough,
a movie I've never seen. So,
it's pretty good. I mean, just walking around. I really like the opening of the movie. Just like they go to every place that the Gremlins are going to visit and tear up in the third act of the movie. We visit all that in like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I'm just like, this is pretty classic setup to the dominoes to knock them down later storytelling. But it's really effective. The mom's a badass in that movie.
Like, it's been a while since I saw it.
Like, do you remember the mom like wipes out like almost all of the original Gremlins in the kitchen? She like fucking massacres Gremlins in there.
It's been a long time since I saw Gremlins.
She is way more of an action hero in that movie than even our main character is. So I always appreciated that.
Well, apparently I've made it now where it's my dad's side of the family. Cards Against Humanity is now a Christmas tradition.
Nice.
So that's fun.
We're almost there in our family. We keep playing apples to apples, and it gets more and escalates Raunchier. More and more. So I think we're almost there. Otherwise, I've been reading more lately. And when I say reading, I mean listening to audiobooks. So I actually have a couple to mention here. One was by the writer of Doctor Strange and podcast host that I listen to all the time, C. Robert Cargill. He wrote this book called Sea of Rust, which is about robots after the apocalypse and after they've wiped out all the humans. And like it's not a spoiler, but like there are no humans in this book. There's no like, oh, they find a pocket of humans later or the last human resistance. No, it's about the robots that took over and them trying to survive the new robots that are trying to take over. Which is pretty cool. Actual sticking to that concept of like there are no humans. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
I listened to the book Artemis, which was a big thing on like they were really promoting it on Audible. And the big hook of it is like it's a pretty neat story about this smuggler that is operating on the first colony on the moon, and how she gets involved in this big kind of spy caper on like the kind of Wild West. There aren't really any regulations that are set in stone on the rules, sort of thing. Like the moon only seems to have one cop, which is like interesting. That's a Mountie, a Canadian Mountie, if you can believe it.
Sure, why not?
The main Ranger, don't you know?
The main selling point of that book is that it's narrated by Rosario Dawson, and it's really fantastic.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, she does a really good job. She does it's an international space station, so she does a lot of accents in it, which are pretty good. Her South Africa.
And then this is also the guy who did The Martian who wrote this book, right?
Is it? I'm not sure. I didn't.
Yeah, Andy Weir. I'm pretty sure that's him. So.
Oh, okay. It's a lot more sci-fi, science, fantasy sort of thing going on there in this end of it.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't go into the nitty-gritty of how a whole shit ton of the stuff actually works. But yeah, that was super fun. Also, the I listened to another one of the installments of the Dragon Age books.
Oh, okay.
Which are I always find them consistently like, that was a lot better than a tie-in novel for a video game probably needs to be. So
yeah, I've only found that the only good tie-in books I liked, and I only liked them up to a point, were the Halo novels. Because at first they started really strong, and now it's just, I have no idea what's going on anymore in those stories. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I find that the other ones usually are pretty inconsistent. Like Mass Effect had like maybe one that was good, and the others were just kind of meh. So
yeah, I really like
Dragon Age. At least it tried. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dragon Age ones. I was reading the fourth one, which is about the Griffins in the fourth Blight.
Oh,
and how it goes into how the Griffins worked and what the combat was like with Griffins.
Well, geez, now I want to play with Griffins.
Yeah, and it's now like it just describes the relationship between the Wardens and the Griffins and why they used them, how effective they were against Darkspawn. It basically opens with the Blight, where it's like there are no heroes to help save the Blight within like what feels like a year's span. It's this big siege, and the Wardens are like, yeah, we gotta basically fuck off and save maybe 100 people out of the couple thousand here because there's no way to save this city. It's like, wait, you're the heroes. And like, yeah, but we're not immortal. We're not like,
we're just dudes.
And then they fight an archdemon with Griffins like in the opening. So I'm not finished with it yet, but I'm like, man, if it opens like that,
where like, you go from there?
Yeah, like where do you go from there? That's pretty neat. That and it's told in this way of it's written from the perspective of a mage reading a bunch of books after they join up with the Grey Wardens.
Okay.
After the Kirkwall Mage Rebellion starts to happen. And the Wardens are like, oh yeah, we need you to look through all the histories for instances where the Grey Wardens have gone off and acted weird and maybe gone AWOL, or Darkspawn talking or in displaying intelligence. And we need you to do that like right now. Well, why? No reason. Just do it, and like right now.
Just don't ask questions.
So if you played Inquisition or some of like Dragon Age Awakening, you kind of know what's up with the Wardens and why they aren't swearing in any new members at all. Like they are very hesitant about it,
right?
And it's like it's kind of like a nod because the mage finds it odd, but the reader is like, oh, I know exactly what's happening here. So I found it very impressive. So yeah, I've been enjoying some of the audiobook. I've been really enjoying my Audible subscription so far this year.
That's good.
Other than that, I did want to mention real quick. We finished up Blood Battle Arc Blockade, whatever.
Whatever the fucking name is, I always forget. Blood Blockade Battlefront, I think it is.
Yeah,
we finished the first season.
We talked a little bit about it on the previous episode. Its ending is awful.
It's pretty awful. Yeah.
Its season 1 finale is fucking bad, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I know this is a super popular anime for some reason. I feel it has a lot to do with the character designs more than anything else. I will say that show is consistently funny. And even from a Westerner perspective, it's really funny. Like it
has good comedic timing.
Yep, it's pretty funny. But like as far as its ending narrative, man, does it just crawl up its own ass by the last couple episodes and just stays there.
Well, we even mentioned it previously when we talked about this, where it's like, yeah, if I watch the first 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes, I get the plot. That's the whole show.
Yeah, the rest of the episode is not even like much character development as it is to let Klaus look like a badass. Like, how many episodes do we need to have Klaus like, look how badass he's like, yeah, do you want me to tell me anything significant about him? Like,
it's funny because I started watching the second season, which is still an ongoing show, and all the episodes out so far, except for like 2, are character episodes, not dealing with Klaus. I'm like, oh, I can actually enjoy this because like we know nothing about these other characters.
Yeah, so that was kind of disappointing. Also, I caught up on Ruby, the Rooster Teeth show, Ruby. Justin, have you watched any of this?
No, but one of my former roommates and his girlfriend used to watch it every now and then. It looks interesting, from the little bits I saw.
So I caught up on, what are we on, Volume 5? As far as we are on Volume 5. It is better than Volume 4, which at this point I'm looking back on like, yeah, that was a fucking slog. And this is one of those series that there's not a whole lot super wrong with it. Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh man, I used to really like this show back when it was an action comedy, and now they've taken it into a much more serious direction because of the ending of Volume 3, which I guess I won't spoil, but there's a major character death that makes everyone kind of like, it'd be weird if they all were jokey in the next couple seasons after that, to be fair. But they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to murder that person in a big way. And I don't know, the Rooster Teeth guys, I think that they just are a little, and I mean this in the utmost respect because I do respect those guys for making their own content out of like a fucking video game with bobbling heads for Red versus Blue. Like I thought that was very impressive what little they made a whole version of their own comedy there. They are they are really good at comedic writing. They fall down in the dramatic department where a lot of their people that are voicing their characters are not professional voice actors, and it kind of comes across when they try and do a dramatic scene with people. Everyone's really funny, everyone's got great comedic timing, but when they have to pursue some serious shit is going down, that and the writing is like, yeah, you're starting to kind of notice that it's just kind of like, it's super generic fantasy writing sort of stuff going on. And most of this, it's not like any of this stuff wasn't present in the first two seasons, but you just don't notice this as much because, like, well, it's a comedy, and this is not what the show is about. Now it's solidly what the show is about is the story, and it's like, okay. But Volume 5 has given payoff. It's had characters teamed back up again.
That's good.
A lot of the characters are finally, like, meeting arcs ends. Like Yang has finally dealt with her mom, basically, is a storyline that's kind of wrapped up. Blake has finally, gone home and dealt with some of the fauna stuff that actually gets a little more interesting than I at first thought it would be. So that one is like on the slight upturn, but still I feel like, I don't know, I feel weird criticizing it because I realize that a lot of it is just that, a lot of it is my preferred taste for the first season and what it was before, rather than anything specifically wrong with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't explain to you like why I feel like it's just not doing it's doing something completely different. I just feel like the different thing it's doing is not as good as what they were doing before.
Well, I've been looking through a lot of things on Verve lately, trying to find, like, I've been trying to parse out, like, so what are some animes that Nick might actually like? We went through Blood Blockade Battlefront, which I agree that ending was pretty goddamn awful, but I've gotten quite a list here of what we can watch instead. Like, we just before, while we were waiting for Justin, watched the first episode of a show called Last Man.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Last Man, yeah.
Okay.
It's this anime that has this really kind of like dirty, almost ugly at times animation style, but they use it for really quick fighting cuts, so it kind of works for them. And yeah, it's basically about this asshole called Richard Aldana who just kind of gets roped up in this weird mystery murder plot with his best bud, basically, and his mysterious daughter. It's weird because each episode's only 15 minutes long, so it feels really short, but at the same time I was like, oh, I have time for like one more episode, then like 4 more episodes happen. I'm like, oh fuck, I just wasted an hour. God damn it. It's a pretty interesting show. The narrative kind of gets lost like little ways through. It's still not done yet. I think it's like a mini-series, but it's a really interesting show to watch.
Yeah, so that's what we've been watching this week. So I am very excited.
I saw a few things.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I saw a few things too. So.
Oh, did you want to? What have you been up to? With as far as your watch stuff?
Well, this weekend I have a huge plan to do an indie binge watch. So essentially, my mother and I are going to go to the theaters, and we're planning to watch 3 movies back to back in a row.
Wow.
So, yeah, I did it 2 weeks ago when I watched Star Wars and 2 other films on the same day. So now we're going to watch Shape of Water, Darkest Hour, and Disaster Artist all the way through. So,
nice.
That'll be fun. And then,
that's quite the different palette of movies there.
I know. I feel so like, wow, I don't feel so nerdy you guys talk about anime like that.
We're here for.
Oh boy. But I did decide to indulge a little bit more arty stuff too, And yesterday I watched Detroit.
Okay. Oh yeah, I heard that was very good.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a very, very good movie and some very stellar qualities to it. It's not my favorite of Catherine Bigelow's movies, and I can't really pinpoint why. Other than, I was really interested in the story overall, but there's two main hindrances I think that kind of held me back. One, so for people who don't know, this is a movie about the incident that happened at the Algiers Motel in Detroit in the 60s, where a bunch of cops, rallied together a bunch of black men and some white women because supposedly one of them shot off a pistol, or at least a starter pistol, towards the direction of some soldiers who were trying to keep the Detroit riots in bay. And it led to an incident that got 3 of the black men killed by the police through brutal and questionable methods. Now, the problem I feel with that is that a lot of the stuff about the incident is very hearsay. He said, she said. Mm-hmm. So, in the film, actually, unlike a lot of movies, there's a title card at the very end that says, okay, we acknowledge that this isn't a completely accurate representation of the event. This is what we know from the various testimonies, what we think may have happened, and some things that were altered for dramatic purposes.
Okay.
Well, some of it, from what I hear, is that they actually toned down some of it because some of the real life stories from the perspective of the victims was so dark. They were like, yeah, we can't put that in the movie. It's too dark. We want people to leave this movie not slitting wrists and stuff.
Yeah, some of the stuff is too dark, and some of the stuff they kind of exaggerated. Where it's like, look, the ultimate message they want to give is cops suck and black people, deserve justice. Mm-hmm. And I guess, yes, to be fair, the stuff they did is here's some of the things in there are unquestionably real. Like the stuff that they did with some of the brutality and the, psychological torture they were doing to these people. Yeah, that stuff actually happened. And there was enough, corroborating testimonies that sure, yes, there's no doubting that. But there's a few things that, they do that thing with composite characters where probably the film's stand-up performance was Will Poulter as the main cop, who is just a complete a-hole in this movie. He is one of the most.
He has got that one of those faces.
He's got Jon Snow's resting, bee face.
Yeah, he is.
He is a despicable human being in this. So much so that I had to look it up, and he's technically a composite character. He is loosely based on one of the main cops who are involved in it, but they changed a lot of details to make him look more evil.
Okay.
But, so, it's a really well-made movie. It's up to the standards of Catherine Bigelow's crafting quality. It didn't have really a central lead character, which was part of the problem. Because, the first 2 movies she did, she's done more, but at least the last 2 movies, Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, she had Jeremy Renner and Jessica Chastain as, concrete lead protagonists in the story. Mm-hmm. This one, there's no real lead. It's just a bunch of various people that we kind of bounce back and forth between. I
thought John Boyega was the lead from what I saw from the trailers, because he's the go-between cop that's trying to keep everything from escalating, right?
You think that, but he's not introduced till a good 20-30 minutes into the story. Or maybe that's a little exaggerating, but it feels like he joins into the story really late, and he doesn't really do a lot. In fact, that thing that you see in the teaser where they're trying to hold him as a suspect for the murders and that stuff, that doesn't really play into anything. That is introduced, it's teased a little bit, and then it's just gone almost immediately after that. So that kind of underwhelmed me a little bit, and it's weird because it really is the thing. There's because they can't validate some of the stories with him, because there's rumors that he was involved in the brutality that may have led to the beating of these people, but no one can substantiate that because his own testimony is no, look, I just tried to keep things calm, kind of thing. So I think they kind of went this middle ground, just we're not going to do too much with him just in case we don't get things correct. So it's a little underwhelming there, but. And that's the thing. I think it's a good movie. I think it's well done on the whole. I just don't think this was great. And it could have easily been great if they had shifted the focus somehow. Made it more tied to one person. So, it's a solid 4 out of 5. I'm glad I bought it on Blu-ray and watched it at home instead of going to the theater. So.
Oh, well, that sounds like a reasonable critique. Yeah. 4 out of 5. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that still makes you a racist for not loving it, but that's all right.
I know, I've accepted that part of my life. It's my white supremacist speaking inside of me. But no, and actually, but I just want to say again, freaking Will Poulter, man, he is so good at being an evil bad guy in this movie. You love hating him in this movie. It's too good.
He does have one of those faces that make you go, "Fuck that guy."
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, should we get into some of the news for this week? Should we go to our classic segment, This Just In with Justin?
Yes, there we go.
We'll have to keep it pretty short this week. We do want to get to our list or whatever, and I don't think it was a heavy news week anyway. But
no, you're in luck. There's like barely any news this week. So when I was sending my list to Chris, I had to scramble to get to 3 pages worth, and even then, it's like, yeah, there were like 6 trailers that came out, none of which looked interesting, and then a bunch of like, here's some fun facts about the year kind of things. So we'll run through them quickly. Hey, Last Jedi, criticism and all, or conflict or all, people loved it, people hated it. I kind of fell more towards disliked it, but not irrationally so. It's on track to becoming the highest grossing film of 2017. So it just passed Wonder Woman as the second highest grossing film. So
damn.
Yeah.
I thought I heard it was having trouble in the box office. It had a big drop off.
No, it broke a record. Well, it didn't break the record, but it, just trailed behind Force Awakens for one of the largest box office openings ever. So.
Okay, wow, I'm completely misinformed then.
No, I thought I heard it had the biggest drop off of a movie from its first weekend to its second weekend for like quite a while.
No, it had a huge drop off, but it's making a lot of money internationally. That's the big thing. Okay. So.
Okay, I guess I just heard something odd off of it anyway. But it is a Star Wars movie, that makes sense. Like it was.
Yeah. No, but then, hey, because of that, Disney's already going to make back its $4 billion it spent on buying Star Wars. Like, after 3 movies, they've already racked up $4 billion worth of revenue.
Dude, we'll get into it when we get into our top list, but Disney fucking kind of fucking killed it this year. Like, box office wise, at least.
Well, to be honest, it's getting to the point where they're going to kill everything else to make sure they kill it.
I mean, it is.
Yeah. There's some scary things there that I don't want to get too deep into yet. But, okay, let's see. Young Justice Season 3 is expected to arrive late 2018.
Woo! So... Young Justice, baby!
Come on, I want it.
God, I'm so excited. Justin, have you watched Young Justice?
I watched the first season and a half, and I enjoyed it overall. I think I fell off second season because I just wasn't jiving with the time skip. Where I'm
the time skip is jarring, but I feel if you let it go...
I think we had this conversation before, because I remember telling him that I didn't like it too, and that we had to just push through it because it's really good.
Okay, yeah.
I actually like the second season more than the first after you get used to the time jump.
Yeah, because I felt like there's so much that happens between that time skip. I'm just like, wait, I feel like I missed a whole season of television here.
Right, especially in a show that already has its own different universe compared to most other, DC shows.
Mm-hmm. I think continuity doesn't matter much anyway, so...
I think the problem is they knew they were only getting one more season, so it's like, shit, well, we want to really tell this story, because this is what we really wanted to get to. But, like, there's... I mean, I would really like if they got some comics to really explain some of the in-between stuff, too. Some tie-in comics.
That'd be good, actually.
I don't think that Young Justice was popular enough to really justify that, though.
Well, and the biggest reason it stopped because the toy sales didn't sell very well. But, yeah, hey, let's see what happens. So David Ayer still says that Gotham City Sirens is in development.
Okay, sure.
But the reason why I'm sure he's happy about that is because, hey, you know what? Bright may not have been a critical darling, no one expected it to be, but it killed it in viewership. Mm-hmm. According to Nielsen, obviously Nielsen... what?
Supposedly, well, I mean, we only got the Nielsen ratings, which I think are pretty accurate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Netflix still tries to deny it's like, no one knows our ratings but us, which probably is true, but Nielsen is... they're making the effort to get pretty accurate, and at least by their judgment, 11 million people watched Bright during the first 3 days. So,
I mean, if you gotta figure that with all of the controversy, like, oh my god, this movie is so bad, it's one of the worst movies of the year, and it's super easy to check it out for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like there are as many people that have Netflix subscriptions now as cable subscriptions.
Right.
Like, the ratio is shifted. And so, yeah, I'd imagine a lot of people try to check it out for themselves, like, plus it has Will Smith in it. Like, I get the viewership.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because people like to cite how it's racist and it's politics and that stuff. What the large amount of people who watch this movie were? Minorities. So...
Well, it's shocking. Like, it's directed right to them, like, it's social message.
Yeah, and they were the ones who voted more positive than anyone else in the ratings, so... But yeah, so if you do the math, apparently someone did, because it's just short of Stranger Things 2 by a few million for, like, the highest recent Netflix watch, but it would roughly have made, like, $98 million if every one of those views was a ticket sale. Mm-hmm. So, that's that's nothing to shrug at. That's a pretty good get for Netflix.
Well, if you were to tell me that Will Smith was going to star in a movie where it was orcs, but they're in modern times and they switched out gang violence with orc violence, I'd be like, yeah, I fucking want to watch that. That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to do a Netflix and Kill next week on it, so we'll be...
check out for that later.
Yeah, we'll check for our thoughts on it later.
Yeah, I actually would like to watch it. I'm planning to probably either watch it like late tonight or something, because I'm just curious now. I just gotta know, you know?
I mean, I would suggest, like, it's if you're curious, go ahead. Like, you're not really losing anything. There's no, like, that's the thing with Netflix, is that there's no downside other than, like, you might lose an hour of time, you know? Like, there's...
no, so that's cool. But then, well, hey, guess what? We're pretty much guaranteed, or at least they think they're guaranteed, a Jurassic World 3, because J.A. Bayona, the new director, has said, oh yeah, the Fallen Kingdom's going to have a big, giant tie-in to set up for Jurassic Park 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the more I hear about Jurassic World 2, I'm starting to lose interest. I'm just like,
hey, and the Mummy's going to start a whole new dark universe, too. Like, what?
Yeah.
I know. I mean, there are certain things when you hear that in a sequel with like it's going to be a setup or it's going to be a trilogy or something that you kind of go like, oh man, don't get ahead of yourself, guy. There's going to be 4 new Avatar sequels.
I think that's the problem that's killing a lot of franchises right now and going to the theaters. Just everyone wants to make their cinematic universes. Everyone wants their franchises to just run for like 50 movies straight. They're just like, well, Marvel did it, we can do it too. It's like...
Marvel's the exception to the rule, guys, because they seem to be the only ones that have done it consistently.
They did it first, and they did it best. Yeah.
Look at the amount of money they're making. Like, would you want to be like, yeah, I want to make Marvel money? Like,
yeah, I know, but they seem to know Marvel has the formula, and they seem to go, oh, we want that money too. But they kind of like it seems like no one else gets the exact right magic that the Marvel movies seem to have.
The thing is that they had a good, strong, like, starting structure. And then they're like, okay, now we have, like, once you have the base, you have freedom to start expanding.
Then Marvel has, while we criticize them sometimes for, you know, not straying too far from their own formula, they make ballsy decisions like, James Gunn, go do whatever you want with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And
which
like
didn't really pay off for the next film, but if you ask me.
I mean, I would suggest that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is a vision that is so different from the Marvel universe that it feels out of place, but I actually really like the themes of it. It's actually would have been, it's not on my list of best of the year, but if I had made a top 10 or 15, it probably would have made it on there for me just because of its themes and of fatherhood and stuff that I just don't see in other movies. But also they have stuff like Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok just recently. Yes. Making Spider-Man a fucking John Hughes movie, basically. Like they're willing to do kind of
they're getting there
weird kind of shit to vary some stuff up. Yeah,
but they won't have a woman.
Well, we're getting Miss Marvel, all right. We're getting Captain Marvel. We'll get there eventually. Hey, DC had to beat them at one thing, all right. They had to give them one.
What was that joke in South Park, the new game, where they're like, hey, we set up all these movies, and then we introduce the black guy. And then there's, like, a card on the side that says, like, maybe woman, or something like that.
Maybe woman.
But yeah, so, oh my gosh. Like, again, the news was slim pickings this week, so I'm just picking through a couple of these here. The guy who did, that new Stephen King adaptation, Gerald's Game, he says he wants to do an adaptation of Dr. Sleep now, the Shining sequel that came out, which... If I'm not mistaken, people were not too crazy about that one. But, okay. I really thought Gerald's Game was pretty good, and he's proven to be a very competent horror director up to this point. So,
no, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I heard people weren't super jazzed about Dr. Sleep either. But, I don't know. I like that guy's vision for, extrapolating out what should have could have only worked as a short story to a full feature. I thought he really did a good job. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I think he did good too. Goosebumps 2 is now set for October 12th, and maybe people don't know why I would care, but I'm like, Goosebumps 1 was actually pretty darn good. Like, surprisingly, for a movie that I thought was going to suck balls, Still
haven't watched it, but I do hear. I think even Kyle said that he surprisingly thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not art. It's not aiming for high things. It's like, yeah, for such a simple premise, it manages to get a lot of laughs and a lot of good. It's like, from what I hear, that new Jumanji film, which I hope to see soon.
I want to see that one too. I heard that one's surprisingly fun as well.
Yeah, just that same idea. It's like, it's just fun, gimmicky, goofy action kind of stuff, and good, like, kid-friendly scares. But I think I heard too that there's a debate between if they were going to have Jack Black or not in the new movie, which he was surprisingly one of the better things about Goosebumps. But they were debating on two versions of the script, and it sounds like they're probably going to lean more towards Jack Black, because why would you not have him back? That seems like a really dumb idea to not bring him back. Yeah. So, also, apparently the new Hellraiser movie, Judgment, is going to come out February 13th.
What number of the Hellraiser movies is that now?
I don't know.
They've been to space, right? Like, they've been to space?
And the Hood.
And but not kidding. I think that there is a Hellraiser movie in space.
Sure, I believe it.
I couldn't doubt you.
There are so many movies I have not seen this year, but I have now seen 3 Leprechaun movies this year, and that's scary.
Why?
How the hell did you manage to see 3 Leprechauns movies this year?
We have a chat group that we do, and we did a month of horror movies every night, and it just so happened we decided to binge watch 3 Leprechaun films, and jeez.
That sounds like a fun chat group. I wouldn't mind actually talking about the Leprechaun sequels for a while.
Join us on the Midnight Chat Attack every Wednesday and Saturday, so. Oh gosh, scrolling through boring news stories that you guys don't care about. This one I'm excited about. There's this great little sitcom back in the day called Mad About You that came out with Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. That was their big breakouts before he did Alien and she did a bunch of Oscar films. Apparently they're talking about reviving it. So, I mean, yes, it's that generation of things never stay dead, but Mad About You was something special. Who knows? That's kind of cool.
I don't know, we can do a Fuller House version of it. Come on, it can work.
God. Also, a couple other deaths. Bob Givens, who was a very influential animator for Looney Tunes back in the day, like he pretty much created the design that we know for Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, and a lot of other classic cartoons. He died at 99.
Wow.
So, wow.
I guess.
A very, an actress from Sound of Music, Heather Menzies Urich. She was Louisa in The Sound of Music. She died at 68.
Eldest daughter, I believe.
Yes. So, that's sad. I really like that movie. Also really sad, a classic actress, Rose Marie, who played Sally on the Dick Van Dyke Show, died at 94. Which, that was pretty cool. I mean, I liked the Dick Van Dyke Show. It's a really, really fun show, even by today's standards. Although the quote saddest death of this week, freaking Alfie Curtis, who played Dr. Evazon in Star Wars: A New Hope. So that dude who had, he's like, I have the death penalty in 12 systems. That guy. That guy died at 87 this week.
He doesn't like you either.
Yeah. And even apparently Mark Hamill tweeted out just like, I only worked with that guy for like one scene, but that was like one of my favorite scenes to shoot in the entire movie. So, yeah, so he had nothing but nice things to say about him, which is cool.
Yeah.
Apparently also dead, maybe, is the sequel to Alien. It performed so badly that they're pretty sure they're just going to cancel it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't mean to say this about a franchise that I actually do hold a lot of nostalgia for and really love, but maybe it'll be a good thing to not have another Alien movie for a while.
Or just give it back to Neil Blomkamp like we said he should. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, granted, Neil Blomkamp hasn't made a good movie in the last 2 films either, but, it would have been something different.
I mean, for a guy who made District 9, who I thought, like, man, this guy is going places, he really didn't blow up like I thought he was gonna, but I would have liked to see his version of Alien, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, I hear his Oats studio, the one that's producing all those short films, is doing pretty well, so.
I mean, I know Ridley Scott's version of Alien. I got it. I got what you think the Alien is. And
I don't even think he cares about Alien anymore. All he wants to do is talk philosophy. That's the thing that's sinking Prometheus in this film. Where it's just like, okay, aliens, that's cool. Let's talk about God for a bit.
What does it mean to be God?
Science and robots and flutes.
Flutes.
That's nice, Ridley, but can I see a xenomorph real quick? Just at any point. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, that was still my favorite thing, where people were talking about that really long flute sequence in the new Alien movie. And there's that quote with Michael Fassbender, it's like, here, I'll do the fingering. It's like,
yeah. I did not see the new one, because Prometheus was just so bad.
I hear it is not as bad, but still.
They're both underwhelming in different ways. Two last stories. MoviePass, we've talked a bit about how now MoviePass is making a significant impact on box office numbers. So I think at this point now it's reached 1 million subscribers. Okay. So that's nothing to scoff at. It's making progress. People are responding really positively to it.
Yeah.
Us millennials, we're surging. We might be killing other businesses, but we're making MoviePass thrive even.
We almost killed theaters, and then they found a way to win us back. So
as soon as they introduce an avocado version of the MoviePass, we will be unstoppable.
Avocado popcorn.
I love that how that's always. I love at the point later, like 15 to 20 years from now, we have to explain to our kids why avocados were a big joke among our generation.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they just won't get it.
It's a joke. Yeah, I don't know why it's a joke personally.
Look, I don't know either, but I do realize that it's funny. So,
anyways, okay, that's all the news I had. Again, it was a pretty shallow week. So.
All right, well, we're going to take a small musical break then, and we'll be back with our top, whatever pop culture stuff lists, after this small musical break. We'll be right back.
Avocado, what makes you think you're so holy? You're gonna be guacamole before too long. Oh, you're a green one. You know that you're out of season. You better let somebody eat you. Let somebody eat you. You better let somebody eat you before it's too late.
And welcome back to the UGO podcast list edition, guys. This will be our top movies, TV shows, video games.
Wait, is that what we're doing? I thought we were doing grocery list, because I put eggs and bacon and
then avocados. They're everywhere.
Avocado. Yeah, there we go.
Back.
That's the part I missed. Let's see, 4
That's the
avocados.
best game of the year right now.
So yeah, not going to be a whole lot of structure. We're just going to kind of list off our own personal lists and explain what we liked about this year. Yeah, why don't we start with Justin? We'll start with movies, and we'll do our bottom five. You know what? Let's just do Justin's whole list first. Okay. And then we'll work our way up from 5 to 1. And then that way, when we get to me or something, maybe I can do, if we've already talked about a film, we can do some honorable mentions or something.
Okay.
So Justin, let's walk through your list for 2017 for movies. What was your number 5 to start off with?
Well, let me preface this with this. We kind of talked about this off mic and a little bit at the beginning of the podcast, but I realized that I really haven't seen or watched or played a lot of stuff this year because school and life and everything else in between. And also, I don't really make bottom 5s because I just avoid bad movies. If I know a movie's gonna suck, I just don't watch it.
Oh yeah, there. For those wondering, there won't be a worst of 2017 podcast, guys. We might talk a little bit at the end of this one as a caveat, but yeah, we didn't have enough time to see the good movies of 2017, so we didn't really go out of our way to see the bad ones.
Exactly. Look, okay, I'm just gonna say, worst movie is probably the Emoji Movie. If my brother hated it, who is pretty easy to please with movies, it's probably a sucky film. So, so if I can go with top 5 then, keep in mind, like I said, I'm gonna see a bunch of the big Oscar contenders over this next week or two, so it's to be revised. But if I go with current top 5, there's so many that are like close. So I'm going to say number 5 is kind of a tie between, let's just say, It, Wind River, and Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
I thought all those were really good for very different reasons, but they're all kind of like on that same level. I can't really delineate between them.
I kind of see where you're coming from, actually. Like how they're all like super good, but like they're so different, you can't really judge one over the other one.
Yeah. And it's that thing where, like, It was a great surprise because it was a horror movie that, for one, it's a 2-parter, which seems like it would be really hard to pull, but they did a great setup for a 2-parter. And then it's executed with a high quality. It's a Stephen King adaptation that doesn't suck, which is more rare than you think. Yeah. And they actually did, I feel like they actually made the story better than the one they did for the TV miniseries. Because, obviously, the It miniseries was a product of its time, but this is what you do when you have a legitimately good movie. Not just campy,
I would say it blows the It miniseries out of the water, actually, by actually separating the two stories into actually 2 stories is a lot better of a structure. That and I don't know. Even I don't know. I wasn't young when I watched it, so maybe it is for the time. But the It miniseries is just like, man, Steve. What was it? Tim Curry. Tim Curry is doing a great job acting as this Pennywise, and he's really funny. But everything else is like, man, these effects are I think even for the time, they're kind of shit. Like,
no, it was made for the cheap. And Tim Curry's just not scary. Like, he's kind of menacing, but I never really like was terrified of him. It's just like, okay, yeah, he's kind of odd and creepy. I actually felt like I really, really liked, what's this guy's name? Skarsgård died. It's not it's not Alexander. What's the other Skarsgård?
No, he's the other Skarsgård. He's one of the other. There's 7 of them running around. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like 5 brothers of them. But he was really, really good and menacing. Like that's the thing that they really did with it is that they made the clown an actual legitimate threat.
It has one of the best openings of this year.
Yes.
No, that opening is like the single scariest part of this movie, and it blows the old opening out of the water because you're just like, yeah.
It's Bill Skarsgård, by the way. Bill Skarsgård.
Bill, that's right. Yeah. And that's what happens when you actually get, 2 good actors. Surprisingly, that kid is just as good as Bill in that scene.
And for the rest of the movie, it's important because the rest of the movie, the kids kind of aren't in, like, they don't get that much physical harm done to them. It's a lot more psychological stuff. Yeah. So the opening of this kid just getting fucked up by Pennywise in a way that you just do not see coming is like, it keeps your tension up for the rest of the film because you know that.
Oh yeah, now everything's open to grabs.
Yeah, like it shows that no, we have the balls to kill kids. Like
we're going there.
No, it establishes a legitimate threat, and I really like that a lot. And some of the changes they did to the plot when I read through the synopsis online for the the full movie and that stuff, or at least the book, it actually kind of makes sense the way they do it. Although they kind of, they're gonna have to make up a bunch of new stuff for the sequel. It's just like, yeah, they kind of exhausted all the major plots because they're really tied into the stuff with the adult story. So, yeah it's gonna be interesting to see what they do different in the next movie.
Bunch of kid actors that I really like. So it's
the cast
really
is
good.
Excellent. Every single actor, every single one was great. Even Stranger Things guy, Finn Wolfhard. Where I'm like, wow, he was the nice, timid little boy in that movie, in that show. And here he's a foul-mouthed little jerk off.
He is, oh my god, he has the line. He has the best line of that movie, though. The spoilers for the ending of it, but like, it was mild spoilers, but it's like, yeah, now I gotta kill this fucking clown. God.
No, I think my favorite laugh was the one when they had the rock fight, and he's just like, F you mullet-wearing jerkwad, or whatever he said.
Just a lot of good lines.
That was great. But then, Wind River is a really great movie because it's one of the things where it wasn't the best directed or even the greatest movie, but it was just so solidly executed on every level that I really don't have many qualms with it on the whole. It's solid, tense, fun, and it does a lot with such a minimal scale. Like, there's only so many actors, there's only so many locations. It's really, really good, classic, indie filmmaking, I think.
Yeah, sounds really good. Another movie I have to catch up with.
Oh yeah, no, and it has a heck of a shootout at the end too. Let's just say that. But and also among the many things, it's one of the many, many things that John Bernthal showed up in this year. You won't see it coming when he shows up. You're like, wait, the Punisher's in this movie. What the frick?
He had kind of a good year too.
Yeah,
like he wasn't in stuff for a small minute because I remember he was in Baby Driver for a couple minutes too.
Thankfully, this was a more substantial, cameo than that one was. But,
right.
Spoilers, Baby Driver's not on my top 5, but it was a good movie too. And then Thor Ragnarok, again, it's the best of the Thor movies by a long, Kentucky mile, because I didn't really like the first 2. So, what a shock that this movie not only was good, but really, really fun and imaginative. And they found a way to make Thor a good character without completely undoing what they did before, but finding new ways to perform him.
Making him dumb.
What if we made Flash Gordon the king of Asgard?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, Chris Hemsworth's just a funnier actor than he is a dramatic actor. He can do drama well enough. I've seen him in like Rush in those films, but who would have thought that he could just be so charming, just being a big doofus?
He's not. It's not the fact that he's good as a comedic actor. The fact is that he's gold. Like that's his lane, man. It's actually where I'm like, dude, this is your thing, man.
Yeah,
this is your calling.
I mean, he was still basically the best part of Ghostbusters, too.
He's so fucking funny. Like, it's it's to the point where I'm like, I do not understand how it took Hollywood this long to throw you into comedies, because it's like a duck to water, man. Like, it's crazy how good he is.
No, he's really good in this. And, everyone's really good. Even Jeff Goldblum, who was acting the least of anybody in that movie.
So, do you want me to do anything, other than, my affect for this? The champion, take to the streets, and find him. I'm so upset now.
The one guy who stole the show in that movie, and I did not expect it, was freaking Korg. Taika character. Korg is the best. He is my favorite new, minor Marvel character right now. I want him in every movie.
Hey man, my name's Korg. I'll be your surprisingly favorite part of the movie. I'm just gonna sit over here with my friend Meek. He's got scissors for hands. That's pretty neat. Look at that.
I think my favorite part with him was when he's introducing himself. They're like, "So how'd you get stuck in here?" "Oh, I tried to start a revolution, but I didn't put enough pamphlets, so only my mom and her boyfriend showed up." So,
and to our hate, he comes.
He's got really good comedic timing too, to be honest.
Apparently, Taika Waititi based him off of bouncers in I forget what country, but somewhere in Africa.
New Zealand no, in Africa. Okay.
Yeah, it's it was these weird giant bouncers that had really high pitched small voices.
Okay.
He found that exceedingly funny.
It is kind of funny.
So he was like, "Man, I want to create a character based off of that." So he made Korg kind of like that. So
it's a better route to go because the Korg they usually do is just the big hulking brute dude, and I'm like, yeah, we already got enough of that with the Hulk, so I don't need another Hulk character in this movie.
Yeah.
But, so then my number 4, this one's not a tie, Spider-Man Homecoming.
I struggled whether or not to get this onto the top 5 list.
Oh, I have my bottom 6 is so filled with things like this. Almost made the top 5. I really like these movies.
Man, what a great Spider-Man film though, right?
I know, I was shocked. This was my favorite of the Marvel films this year. And it's look, Thor was a lot more big, loud, and fun, but I think Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character, so there's a little bias there. But, 2, they found a new angle to take Spider-Man. We're like, okay, let's take that whole millennial vibe and do it in a way where he's not obnoxious, he's not irritating like so many millennial characters are shown. He's Peter Parker as a millennial. He's a good-natured teen, a smart guy, and he's just a little bit cocky and addicted to his phone,
Yeah, I do love, and they have a great interpretation of Vulture. I was talking to Travis a little bit on my mic on this, but not only does he look good, the Vulture costume they have for this is a fucking awesome costume, but having Michael Keaton and the twist at the end.
I fucking love Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
No, that twist was the genuine, I literally did not see that coming.
People gasped in our theater, man. They were like, oh fuck!
I was laughing the entire time because I'm like, okay, usually I'm pretty good at predicting this kind of twist. That one I never saw coming.
I think I literally said, oh shit, in the theater. I was like, oh shit. It was bad. Really bad.
It might be with a bunch of overacting, Michael Keaton moments of, intense, weird moments with Michael Keaton. That might be the most awkward car ride I've ever seen. With Michael Keaton. Oh, god damn.
Yeah, and they just did a great job with, fleshing out this world. It feels like if the MCU didn't exist, this movie could stand on its own without any context, Just okay, you get the gist of everything you need to know from the MCU, but the story is in itself, with the exception of Iron Man, its own thing. And I think that makes it work so well. You just like these characters, Peter, Ned, Aunt May, all these, various people feel fleshed out.
The guy in the chair.
Yeah,
the guy in the chair.
Who would have thought this chubby little Asian kid would be one of the best parts of that movie? But it's good action, it's good comedy. Surprisingly, I laughed throughout this whole movie. I was just having a great time with this one, and it's just so fun. There was never really a point where it felt like, oh, well, it really started to drag. I was invested almost the entire way.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the points I got scared in 2017 too. Was when he's trapped underneath that garbage or whatever.
Yes.
And because because they would have never done this with Tobey Maguire because he's a man, he doesn't get scared. In this one, Spider-Man's a child.
Yeah.
And he gets scared underneath there, and I go, I breathe faster because I'm I don't think of myself as claustrophobic, but then someone gets into that sort of situation, I go I get panicked on their behalf. Just god damn, dude.
No, I do get claustrophobia every once in a while, so I was like, yeah, no, that's terrifying.
So that's I definitely respect that pick. But that's...
No, and the thing is, the only thing that undercut that scene for me is that it's a callback to one of the most famous Spider-Man moments. Mm-hmm. And it's not as strong as that, but again, that's holding it up to a standard of something else rather than letting it, be judged as its own thing. And as its own thing, it was still fine. So
yeah, as far as good as that moment is, I do like it better in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon when they do it there. I mean, if you've never seen the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, they do the same moment, only he basically lays down and he's like done. It's after this big fight with like, I forget who he was fighting, but it was a big supervillain fight. And he's like, he's all beat to shit and he's like, fuck it. This isn't a bad way to go out. I did everything I possibly could. There's nothing more that anyone could ask of me. And then suddenly Gwen Stacy screams from a balcony upwards and she needs help. And he's like,
God fucking damn it.
And he takes a deep breath and he pushes that shit off of him and then he doesn't even say anything. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's Spider-Man.
That's pretty Spider-Man right there.
Fucking Spider-Man right there.
Like, I guess I gotta get up because someone needs my help.
Yep.
No, and then number 3 is my last tie. I swear, I have no other ties after this. It's between Lady Bird and Good Time. So, Lady Bird was a really, really solid film. It's a Greta Gerwig, the actress who makes her directorial debut. Mm-hmm. And really, really solid film about watching Saoirse Ronan, who is an actress I'm really growing to like a lot the more that she's, matured as an actress. The day in the life of her existence in early 2000s, where it's just, hey, she's not the smartest, not the brightest, not the, the most popular person, but she's, a likable enough person, even if she's just a teenager, a little bit moody, dealing with, poverty, dealing with her mom and the kind of contentious relationship she has with her, trying to make it through school and apply to colleges to better herself in the future. It's very just charming, entertaining, funny, sad, just covers so much range with it. It feels like just a giant montage in the best possible way. You just feel like you're getting a snapshot of every facet of her life. And it's just great performances all around. I think both Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf should merit Oscar consideration because they're just that good in this movie. I would argue that Greta Gerwig could be in contention for directing because she's really, she shows she has a lot of chops with this movie.
Man, you're selling me on this movie, man.
I've seen it on a lot of lists I was looking at, too, actually.
Saoirse Ronan, ever since I saw her in that movie, Hannah. Remember that movie, Hannah?
Yeah, I remember that one.
And she was like, man, that was a badass little movie, and she was really good in it. I was...
Which one is that? I forget.
The one where she's the kid assassin or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember, where they made Captain America kids, and she was, one of the only ones to survive? It had that one other British guy, Eric Bana,
Eric
I think.
Bana.
Yeah. That was kind of like her father figure sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's really, really fun. And, it's just, I really have nothing bad to say with it other than it just wasn't my favorite. And, I've talked to people where the movie didn't really click for them as much as other people. And sure, if you don't relate to it, you don't relate to it. That's perfectly fine. But it's still just a really well-crafted movie. Just very fun. The Good Time is quite the opposite of that, where it's a dark, nasty, grimy little film with Robert Pattinson in the lead role. Now, I know that sounds like a bad thing, but hear me out. So it's basically a little thriller with Robert Pattinson as this just total scumbag who him and his mentally challenged brother decide to hold up a bank. Where he pretty much just coerced him into doing it.
Damn.
But the problem is when they try to escape, because the brother pretty much blows their cover when they're escaping, the brother gets captured by the police and he's being held at a prison nearby. So Robert Pattinson is trying to last minute call upon all the connections he can and just, bumble his way across the city to find a way to pay the brother's bail money. And then try to find a way to escape and flee the city.
Okay.
And it just goes from one messed up situation after another where it's like, okay, so I tried to do this, but then this happened. And then I tried to do this, but then this happened. And then I tried to do this, and then this happened. And it's just, one thing after another of just weird, bizarre, surreal stuff. I mean, it's all grounded. I mean, it's surreal in the sense that, how much bad stuff can happen in one night is a pretty surreal experience. But, it's these two guys named the Safdie brothers who I've never heard about before. They apparently, slightly big in the indie spheres, but it's a really energetic, it's a thing where it never got boring, it never slowed down. And Robert Pattinson, this is maybe one of his best performances he ever did. He's so unlike all of his other characters. And you're fascinated by this dude, and yet you just hate his guts, because he's a creep. Like, one of the things, he doesn't do anything, at least at first, that would be like, oh, he killed somebody kind of thing, but every little thing he does just ruins people's lives.
Wow.
It's just, he's Double Toasted in the review put it that he's just a cancer. Everybody
cancer of a person.
He really is. I don't even want to tell you what happens with freaking Barkhad Abdi. He meets him in a cameo in this one, the guy from Captain Phillips. And he messes that dude up. Like, just in a matter of minutes, no less.
Wow.
Like, not like beat him up, but something he does leads to a very bad outcome for that dude.
Screws up his life.
Oh, yeah. But,
hey, I'm the captain. Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. No, it's really fun. It's a really well crafted. It's tight. It does this interesting thing too, where it's almost exclusively shot in middle shots and close-ups. Like, there's very few wide shots or big sweeping landscapes. It makes it very, like you said, very claustrophobic, very intimate of a movie. So, it was just a lot of fun. It's not so much that it's deep, because by the time it's over, it's just like, well, that was a thing. That was a fun ride. But it's a really good roller coaster ride. So.
All right.
Yeah. With that said, number 2 then is 3 Billboards. So
I wanted to see that one. That looked really interesting.
Oh, it's really good. I will say it depends on your taste in, it's weird. Like, I would say it's a dark comedy, but it's really not. It's really, really dramatic. Like, it's kind of comedic in its satiricalness, but it's very much a drama. So, I mean, for the people who don't know the premise listening to this, just, this woman whose daughter is raped and murdered early on, off screen. There's the problem that the police can't investigate the crime further because there's no evidence, there's no leads, there's nothing they can do, but they just left this unsolved for 7 months, and the mom's just, driven by grief and fear, so she rents out these billboards, calling out the police chief for his lack of investigating the crime. And it's just one thing after another of, like, stirring up emotions and, contention within the town, which the whole point of the movie, I feel, is just the way that people process hate and grief. Very much in our, angry society we're living in now in real life. It's just, how do people deal with things that they are angry about but can't control and can't, they can't deal with it. Like, literally, there's a point where you realize they probably will never solve the daughter's murder. Even if they do, you feel like it'll probably never actually get concluded. But that's not really the point. The point is, what do you do about that? How do you process the anger of, facing against the inevitable, And it's a great acting piece. Like, Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and then, Sam Rockwell as the deputy of the station. They're all great. Like, I think each of them should merit serious Oscar consideration. They're just that good, that charming, and they have such great material written for them. Because it's the guy who did In Bruges and, Seven Psychopaths who wrote it and directed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just super, super fun. Offbeat funny in a lot of places. Like, this great interrogation bit early on where Frances McDormand ends up at the police station because of a mishap that she has with another person. And she's grilling the deputy because Sam Rockwell's character is kind of a piece of work in this movie. He's a bit of a scumbag. But he's a scumbag who's understood because you at least see where his bad and dumb behavior comes from when you see his mom. But there's a bit where, because apparently there's something about maybe he beat black people as a thing that's not fully explored, but it's hinted at heavily that he probably did it. And it's weird where they have this funny moment about it where it's like, so I hear you're in the N-word torturing business. It's like, no, person of color. We do not say the N-word here.
Okay.
I guess he has some morals.
I know, it's that weird, like, that doesn't really change the conversation or make it better, but it's just so funny the way he delivers it. It's really funny. But yeah, it was just really well done. It feels like a really great stage play that they managed to make into a movie,
All right. Well, I'm very curious to hear your number 1, although I'm pretty sure it's Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I'm just
best movie of the year.
Just taking a random guess.
All the Oscars.
Every Oscar.
Yeah. The only thing that's similar is that my number 1 is also a science fiction movie. It's freaking Blade Runner 2049.
Yep, call that one.
Yeah, Travis did totally before we started. He's like, I bet you Justin picked Blade Runner 2049.
Well, and again, I haven't seen everything, so maybe it'll lower down on my list, but honestly, I know you guys were not crazy about it as much as I was, but I have not seen anything that was better than this movie. Like, the entire time, there's literally nothing I didn't like about this movie. It's one of the most gorgeously shot movies I've seen in years. It's tense, it's thought-provoking, it's really well acted. It's an experience as much as it is a movie. Like, when I was in the theater, I was losing sense of place. I was so immersed in this world because of all the sound design and just the way that it involves you. And it's especially funny because I didn't really like the first Blade Runner. I think it's an important movie and it's got good parts in it, but I think
that's what I find so fascinating is that I also was not crazy about the first Blade Runner too. It feels like everyone has such a different take on these movies. I'm actually really interested, like, how all the different reactions that the movie inspires.
I just found it so fun. Fun in that way that the best movies just make you want to go watch movies and be creative, you know?
Yeah, I was doing I wanted to be noted, I was doing my best not to be a shit during your thing there, because I was...
You still are if you don't love it, but... Okay.
I mean, during the whole line of, man, it made me feel like I was in a different place, like, me too, because I fell asleep during it. But I do say that film is gorgeous. That film is a gorgeously shot film. I will not dispute that. And I like the acting in it too, especially from Dave Bautista. That guy is surprising me more and more.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's barely in the movie, but he makes such an impact in that scene that he's in, so.
I mean, and then, it wasn't by far my favorite, but I've seen a lot worse movies, this year either, so.
Oh yeah, I have a long list of movies I put that were beneath all these films. So, it's like, yeah, I think I technically listed 9 or 7 films here, but, yeah.
All right, so that was Justin's list. What should we go to? Travis, I'm curious as to what made your list.
Okay.
What was your top 5 movies of 2017?
Top 5. All right. Well, I gotta figure out here because they are numbered, but they're not in order because I was like,
okay.
Well, I was doing a rough draft. I'm like, all right. Oh, should we do them in order? Well, I'm just gonna number them here, so they're numbered. They're just okay. They're there. So number 5 for me is actually going to be Coco.
Coco.
Yes. Okay. New anime film that is just, for one thing, beautiful. Like, this
God, that
movie
film's
was
gorgeous.
Such a beautiful movie. Great songs, great message, and let's face it, anyone who watched it, if you weren't a monster, probably cried during it.
God damn it, they got me so hard.
Monster!
So hard.
I got emotional, but I think I have the problem that, one, it's a fairly straightforward message.
It is. I will give you that, actually.
Yeah, it's like, Inside Out made me cry. Like, that one really tugged my heartstrings. This one's like, it's touching. And then 2, I guess I couldn't shake the fact that this is pretty much just Book of Life. They just looked at that film and they said...
better. Like, a lot better.
I would say marginally better. It is better.
A lot better.
Don't start, you two.
It is like... No, I really like Book of Life too, and Book of Life is funny. And it's not like Book of Life is bad or anything.
No,
but like
this one had much more, it had a much more purpose in its plot. Like, it had better themes, better weight to the drama, where Book of Life is just very fluff in comparison, so.
And Miguel is a very real child character that I also really like.
Yeah, I think he's a great actor, and I thought all the actors were really good in this movie. But Travis, this is your list. Go ahead.
Yes. My only actual downside for the movie is the fact that its twist is really predictable. Like, that's like pretty much the only downside I see to it. I was like, yeah,
which twist? There's like 2 predictable twists in it.
Who the father is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that one I agree, because it's just such a very cliche animated movie thing to do.
Well, you see it coming from a mile off, so it's like, yeah, just bring it to me. Come on now. But other than that, it was such a good movie that just kind of makes you leave the theater feeling like.
Yeah. And actually, I ended up liking the sidekick character a lot in this movie too. What's the guy's name? The guy who's
Oh yeah, I thought you meant the dog for a minute.
No, the dog's great.
No,
I
the
love
dog's
dogs.
okay. No,
dogs are great.
I think what's his name? Gail Garcia Bernal's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember his name either. But,
yeah, no, I thought he was really charming though. So
yeah. Number 4 on my list is actually a movie I just saw yesterday. So this is actually kind of surprising that's making my list. But I went to go see The Greatest Showman.
You know what? My brother raved about that movie. I really want to hear what you thought about it.
It is really great. It's made by the same people, or some of the same people that did La La Land, except this time they got singers.
Okay.
Because it's got Hugh Jackman and God, I absolutely forgot Zac Efron can sing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh yeah,
be straight honest, because he's only been in like movies I basically like, oh hey, that's a movie. I have no plans on seeing that, but yeah, that's a movie that exists. Like Dirty Grandpa and Baywatch and stuff like that, where I'm like, yeah, you can just do that over there. I'll be fine over here. But he's pretty good in this movie, and I gave Nick this plot synopsis before, but I'll run it over for you, Justin. Is that here's the actual plot synopsis for me for this movie. It is about a man who makes money off of swindling people, decides for once in his life to give someone something real, loses his money from it, and then decides in the end it's probably best to just swindle people.
What a heartwarming story.
Yep. No, the story is like actually really emotional, and it is great, like sort of like kind of where La La Land was sort of like an ode to Hollywood type of thing. This one is kind of like an ode, for better or worse, of the American dream. Where it's like, America is some place you can go to anyone can make it in America. That's kind of like the whole dream of it. For better or for worse, you can make it in America. Whether or not you lose your humanity on the way is what is the biggest question. So, but the biggest thing is this movie had some great songs, which are very catchy, but the choreography is just beautiful. Like, there's this one bar scene where, honestly, it has Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman in it, and I wasn't paying fucking attention to them. Because there's this bartender in the background just throwing glasses around of beer, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like, watching these guys, flip around beer, I'm like, this is really cool.
He's got to work for those tips, man.
He worked it, dude.
All right, so what's your number 3 then?
All right, number 3 is, once we're getting up here, it's going to be probably a lot of repeats for your list and Justin's list. But number 3 is Thor Ragnarok.
Nice.
Yeah, because, again,
I did not expect you to rate that high on your list.
My list is so messed up where I kept, moving things around. I'm like, no, babe, everything kind of takes with a grain of salt on my list, because, with these are all kind of, very similar level, actually. I wouldn't actually say, only one of these movies actually stands out as number 1 compared to the others. They're all kind of close otherwise.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah. But Thor Ragnarok was such a fun movie that just, damn, seeing the trailers for that the first time, I'm like, well, this has to be fun. Just seeing the trailers, I'm like, this has to be fun. It looks so much fun with, Planet Hulk. Finally get to stop listening to Nick bitch about how much he wants a Planet Hulk movie, because he's getting it now.
Yep.
And just hey, I fucking love Hela. Hela was so great as a villain. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Marvel, stop killing your villains.
Well, that's how you do a one-off villain, of where she's totally, in the place of, she knows exactly what movie she's in the entire time. Just kind of having fun with it.
Well, you missed it. Thor's my number 3, so. Okay. Number 2 after that is actually going to be It.
It, yeah.
Yes. Because I usually do not like horror movies. I find them cliche and boring, and I don't like being jump scared. Mm-hmm. It does such a great job of being a horror movie that it reminds me actually a lot of Splice, which is another one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Really? Mm-hmm. That it's just nope, here's the monster. Watch it. Watch it.
It'd just be unsettled. I always think back to that scene where he's hanging from that chain and you just see his eyes in that far off obscured scene, and then they don't really show him up close after that scene.
Yes.
I was like, man, fuck, that was so creepy.
No, they do such a good job of just being hey, there's something in the background. We're not going to make you jump scare for it. We're just going to know that, hey, this child right here that you're watching, yeah, he's in danger, and you don't know if he's going to die or not. So take that with a grain of salt.
That too is that it's not even all that scary a movie. It's not the scariest thing I've ever seen. But I'm so emotionally invested in the story. I don't care if it's not the scariest movie I've ever seen. It feels tense enough that I care if they live or die or not, which you can't say for a lot of horror films.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing is that you care if these characters live, and you're not sure if they're going to. They should, because there's another movie, but
I think Justin hit on the most important aspect of the movie, is that because we have characters we like and are invested in their survival, even things that I've seen scarier monsters or scarier setups that I'm not as scared of because I don't care about the people that are in them.
Right.
So I think that that is the quintessential thing that I think that makes this movie rise above the rest. I would. That's your number 2. You said
number 2. Yes.
Number 2. Okay, what is your number 1 then? Because I know you loved it really a lot.
I liked it a lot.
So I'm really curious as what your number 1 is.
Strange enough, it'll be another thing that I considered a horror movie. So hey, there's that. It is Get Out.
Get Out. Okay. I should have seen that one coming.
Yes, because Get Out was goddamn February movies. Half the time I forget that they came out this year, but just Get Out is such a fucking good movie.
Yeah, I rewatched it recently on HBO Now because it had it, and I was just God, even on the third rewatch of that movie, because that was one of the few theater movies I went back in the theater and watched it twice in the theater this year, and I was like, fuck, some of this directing is so smart from Jordan Peele, who is a first-time director. Right. It's just, it really feels like a veteran is behind the camera, and to realize how, because I know he's done stuff before, he's done, his comedy series. Right. It's not like he's a complete novice or anything, but no, he's never done something to this scale, and it was just, man, it's fucking impressive every time I think about it.
It's such a tense movie that you're just you're holding on the whole entire ride. I'm just oh god, just come, make it out, dude, make it out, get out.
I really like this movie. I guess maybe I'm following the group where I'm like, I think it's a good movie. I didn't love it, but, and I think my only problem was just where the plot went at the end. It's like, I guess that's where, I can't even see that's where it's supposed to go because I couldn't have seen that twist coming at least, the, what's actually going on in that movie, and I get
right. Mm-hmm. Well, it explains so much looking back on it.
It does, but I mean, it also was a bit like, I felt like the movie was better when it was a bit more, I don't even want to say what I think it is because that will spoil the twist a little bit for anyone who hasn't seen it. But yeah, I think I liked more of what was setting up for that point than the actual twist itself. But it was executed well. And I guess maybe it's just the issue too that I don't relate to the politics because obviously I'm not black. I know, I'm not black, but there's a few points that they're making like, I can see the arguments here. Maybe I don't agree with how extreme some of the thoughts are, just like white people are evil, essentially. But
see, I'm really curious because I still have yet to show this one to either my parents, and
I don't think the idea is not that white people are evil. The idea is that white people, even though they think they aren't being racist, are still appropriating
that's the thing, is that
black
this
culture.
is more critique on liberal racism than anything. Like you think like, oh, it's just making fun of conservative rednecks. It's like, no, this is making fun of the other side.
No, this is about, like, especially in that party scene, that it comes into it later, like, oh, black is in fashion, like, oh, you look, people who think that, like, oh, I'm not racist, like, yeah.
That's why I kind of want to show this to my parents to see if they like it, because, I mean, let's face it, my dad's racist.
It's like, would watching this like, man, those poor white people, like, just trying to make the best use of those black people as possible.
I think that overall, even if you are going to ignore that clearly obvious message, I think you could still enjoy the movie. So that's why
it still works on a horror level.
Yeah,
just
so
like
that's why I'm kind of curious. Like, if you show this movie to a racist,
apparently, the Golden Globes think this is the best comedy of the year. But it really
God, that's so fucking stupid.
And the sad thing is, again, I know my best friend argued with me on that. It's like, wait, you didn't think that was a comedy? I'm like, how did you think it was a comedy?
No.
It's funny, but it's not humorous. It's really dark.
It's funny in the fact that, like, oh no, that's a real problem.
Yeah, just because I laughed at the movie doesn't mean I thought it was funny. It's because I didn't have a choice. It's like, I'm laughing right now to relieve tension. Leave me alone.
And I realize that horror is a genre that we seem to argue a lot about because
it's subjective.
Because it's one of those genres we don't really have a set rule for. I feel like, hey, is Silence of the Lambs a horror movie? I don't know. There's arguments to be made either way.
Supernatural stuff, then it's debatable with a lot of people. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, but does it need to have supernatural stuff? Does there need to be a monster? Does it need to have, are serial killer movies not horror movies? I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is to that.
What's the difference between a horror movie and a suspense thriller? And
but one thing I do know for sure is that Get Out is not a fucking comedy. It's not even written. It's not even written with the structure of a comedy.
That's the thing. It's like, we can debate on whether it's a suspense thriller than a horror film, which I lean more to the suspense thriller, but it's definitely not a comedy. Yeah,
and I'd give you that.
Yeah, and so that was your list. That's your number one.
Pretty good list.
That leaves it to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for me, it is going to be. I did miss a lot of the. I didn't see Shape of Water yet, which I hear is really good.
Yes, a
lot of some of the indie stuff I didn't catch. So this is kind of
but you didn't
real
like Blade
nerdy
Runner,
list.
Screw you. Screw you too.
I didn't like Blade Runner either. It's not even in my top 10. So
it's like,
fuck off.
Blade Runner wouldn't even it's. We won't get into the whole Blade Runner discussion again. But I thought for sci-fi films.
Yes.
For sci-fi films, I thought we were a little bit. I was a little less. I was disappointed a little bit in the sci-fi crop this season. But one sci-fi film I really did like was Thor Ragnarok, which is my number 5.
Sci-fi or fantasy? It kind of toes the line of
sci-fi fantasy.
I mean, it's for Thor Ragnarok. It is so right in the middle of what it's doing. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy mixed in with their own sci-fi weirdness. I don't know. It's for me, it's that, sci fantasy. It's that Flash Gordon. Sure, it's science, but it makes about as much sense as magic.
Right.
So Thor Ragnarok, for me, was that trailer when they finally showed the Hulk.
Well, the first trailer. So.
And they showed, that first trailer, and I was like, oh my god, it's like they ripped this from my dreams.
Wet dreams. Definitely wet dreams.
Like, it was just, I felt like a sense of deja vu of just like, man, I feel like I've been in this dream before. And yeah, like that, it's got a great comedic setup. It works as a comedy. We've mentioned, I don't know, we've mentioned all the stuff that I want to mention before, other than the fact that that third act is fucking amazing. Like, it just, like...
We see Hulk punch a giant wolf.
Yeah, not just punch a giant wolf. Punch a giant wolf fights Led Zeppelin.
Yeah!
Come from the land of the ice and snow!
We get to see Thor become, like, the god version of Raiden for Mortal Kombat. Like, we get fucking, like, zombie people being mowed down by 2 machine guns held by a dude named the Executioner.
They're like Draugrs from Skyrim, aren't they? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like, there's so much rad shit happening. Like, you forget Idris Elba is wielding a giant broadsword in the middle of that fight.
Yes. Space Jesus.
On a goddamn rainbow
a giant
bridge.
Battle with Norse gods, giant stone aliens and a bug monster. A guy with 2 machine guns.
Yep.
A giant green mutant monster. Just, yeah.
I mean, do we really need to see Ready Player One? Because I've seen all the awesome shit smash into a fight scene. I think we can see.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, the Tracer wasn't in that fight, man. It's just not as cool, apparently.
You wouldn't see Tracer anyway. She zips around so much. Fucking kill that bug.
Just give Nightcrawler 2 machine guns. We're good. Let's go. So yeah, that one for me is just like, god damn, like if you were to make a movie that Nick wants to watch, it's just like that would be the movie you would make.
Yeah, it's only number 5, huh?
There are other I tried to, like, if we're going by like super just like visceral experiences of what I enjoyed the most, it probably would be number 1.
Okay.
But I tried to be as objective as possible during it. Because there are other movies that I feel like I enjoyed just as much that are probably better movies.
Well, I like the fact that, for Taika Waititi, the director, he's done such small scale films before now that, to lead to this pretty much, $185 million film so seamlessly is just such an accomplishment,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know who choreographed some of those fights for him, or if he did some of that himself, because those are really, they feel like very, very good, and I know exactly what's going on through most of those fights. So that was pretty good. I guess honorable mentions to what almost made the 5 list. Lego Batman got edged out just a hair. I really loved Lego Batman.
I think that's partially my fault, isn't it? For making you remember a movie that was with this year.
You remember? I remembered my number 3, which pushed out Lego Batman, basically. And this one fought for Thor Ragnarok because I thought they were both equally as funny. And I don't know. I think Thor had like just more things that I specifically liked in it that were more to my taste, I guess. And Lego Batman was super good though as well. Wonder Woman, while I don't think it would be it probably would make my top 10 near the bottom.
Yeah, maybe.
Just because I felt like it was important this year.
It deserves it.
It was one of those things we all talked about this year, like, finally, a fucking superhero, woman superhero that isn't fucking
DC
awful.
Movie that didn't suck.
Like, it's not...
Right.
Yeah, so it's not Catwoman or Elektra or whatever else. So it gets a big win off of that, even though that its third act is basically
that's the thing.
a
I
mess.
watched it for Christmas because one of my friends who came to visit had never seen it. And that's the part where, even they were like, okay, yeah, once we find out who the major big bad is and it turns into a giant Mortal Kombat fight, or a Dragon Ball Z fight, essentially, it kind of just loses momentum a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I recognize that, and I go like, yeah, we give this movie more cred than it probably...
it's kind of just culturally important at this point.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I think that's fine. I don't think we hold it up on like too much of a pedestal. I think it might get a little more cred than it deserves, but also honorable mention Colossal almost made it on here too.
Yeah.
Going back and thinking about that movie, I'm like, I liked that movie when I left it, and then I thought about it more leaving that theater. I'm like, you know what? That movie was very smart, and it had a lot of stuff to say, and it really kind of didn't cheap out on its like. It could have easily been a comedy,
yeah,
and it really went to a dark, interesting place that I felt was really ballsy for it, and I really respected out of that. Plus, it had a giant
almost
monster
so much
in
that it kind of started to
kind of
not make sense anymore at a certain point in the story. But
I'm not sure like if they where exactly the logic broke down for you, but I thought it made sense more or less. I mean they never explain exactly where the giant monster thing comes from.
I watched it with a bunch of people who absolutely hated the movie, so that kind of affected my film going experience with it. But they also made some valid points of things. It's like, how did this happen if they established this continuity rule? And I'm like, okay, you got me. I can't explain that one, but I thought it was all right. I agree. I mean, it's got some very good parts in it, and I think Jason Sudeikis shows that he can do some dramatic stuff more than we thought he could.
Man, I thought he gave the performance of like his career actually. Like I thought like, whoa, it was such an interesting turn that his character takes that I really liked. Anyway, number 4 on our list, no more honorable mentions. It is the movie It. I think we all really dug the It movie this year, and for good reason, in my opinion. I think it deserves some recognition. I think, judged off the box office and the critical reviews, I think people really were in the mood for a mid-budget kind of horror movie that had a Stranger Things type feel to it. And I'm excited because I feel like it not only was it a good movie, I think it's going to open the door for some horror level, some interesting horror movie, that we might see some budget thrown at some other horror movies that might not have gotten the money they might need to do some interesting stuff with them.
You just make good movies, People respond really well to movies that are high quality, they keep you invested, they're made with, an artist's eye, not just some commercial property, but they're made with somebody who clearly loves the property and clearly wants to make a quality product,
Yeah. And, I like the ending. I really like this, I mean, it ends with the whole thing of like friendship is stronger than anything sort of ending, but it really works, dude. Like
can't go wrong with it.
By the end of it, I'm raising my fist with all the other kids like, yeah, fuck up that clown. Go for it. This is awesome. Like I don't know what to tell you. I was really sold on it.
Budget. Like I didn't realize how cheap the movie actually was until I looked at the budget, because it fooled me. They made good use of their money in this movie.
Oh, for any other movie, it is fucking dirt cheap. But for a horror movie, it gets it's actually a significant budget on that scale.
Yeah,
like, I think it was like 30 million or something, right? 30, 40?
Yeah, it looks like a $70 or $100 million one. If you think about,
no, right. they used their money super smart. Like it's and then the way it's shot to the cinematography, it's just overall
it's smart.
Everyone, all the crew is firing on all cylinders there. Acting, script is great, the cinematography on point, like even just the special effects, like when they use CG, they go out of their way to make it try and make it as seamless as possible. Like it was easily the best really good, guys. Like year, I say. I think it might be my favorite. No, wait, no, it's Shawshank Redemption.
Overall, Shawshank and a few other ones are better, I think. But this is definitely one of the top ones.
Yeah. No.
I mean, Gerald's game was
and
really
Dark
good,
Tower was a thing that happened.
Haven't seen it, but
we're not talking about the worst of the year yet. So that leaves me to my number 3, which is surprisingly another superhero film. Shocker. But I forgot Logan came out this year.
He did. It was funny.
So for me, it's another movie that I respected a lot on its levels. It's very challenging to the X-Men mythos, to the point where like its nihilism and how it treats what happened to the X-Men superhero universe is kind of like so poignant in what it's trying to say about like life and how meaningless it can be. And for a superhero movie that is just, it's so daring to go that way.
You say it's nihilistic, but it's also kind of hopeful. Like you think about the themes that are being discussed in this, it's a weirdly, almost religiously optimistic film in its nihilism. Just like, life may be pointless, but we have hope to preserve and move on kind of thing,
Well, it's sort of a rebirth motif going on.
Yeah, the point of like, it's not only that the film is getting over its nihilism, but like Wolverine himself is getting over like nothing matters anymore. Like his whole thing, especially by the end, there is that whole moment of like, you know what? This was like a bittersweet sort of thing, but I left that theater feeling like that was good. Like I felt really awesome about it, and the way that movie ends with their version of what was the X-Men Apocalypse's Beam X move.
Yeah.
they do another thing in here where it was like, oh, that's a way better version of that.
I don't remember what it is, but I'm assuming that you're right. So
yeah. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it's a big spoiler.
I really did enjoy this movie, but I felt like the movie was at its best when it wasn't an X-Men film. Like anytime it goes back to an X-Men-ish kind of thing, like pretty much anything involving the villains. Like the movie was great when it was just a road movie, with Logan, Professor X, and the girl. Because especially that girl was amazing in this movie. Also, the third villain that they unveiled that I won't say because it's a spoiler. That was my weakest part.
That was. Out of all the things that I was thought in the movie that was kind of a misstep, I was like, am I crazy about the third villain here?
It's very comic book.
And then, but I'm like, by the end of it, I'm like, it overall works as a dark reflection.
The main purpose of that is that it serves a metaphor. Like, it is the most literal interpretation of the central theme of the movie possible, but it does work overall, so.
Yeah. Like, I won't lie, I did feel like when that element first popped up, I'm like, this feels a little video gamey, and then like, it's there. By the end,
it was
funny
though. I told someone what the twist was, because they were like, oh, I haven't seen it yet, but just tell me what it is. And they laughed so hard when I made the comparison of what the theme was about for that twist. That was one of my favorite moments this year, just cracking that dude up so hard. So it's like, what?
All right, so so that was my number 3. My number 2 is going to be Coco. I really, really respected Disney for going all out, getting obviously the research done to accurately represent what I feel like is like the heritage of Mexican culture there. It felt like a lot of true representation. They got Hispanic actors to play all the characters. I think what's holding it back from being one of Pixar's best is just that some of the songs aren't that memorable. Like I really like "Remember Me" and "Poco Yoko."
That one he sings at in the Day of the Dead world.
In the middle, like the one he sings in the middle. I'm like, I really like that song and "Remember Me." All the other songs are good, but I don't hum them to myself. Like,
they're very serviceable. Like "Remember Me," even that one, it's like it's good, but when you think of even that composer, his other work, it's nowhere near the top of his song list. So.
Yeah, and then of course, as I'm not sure if this is a whole thing with me, it's going to be with me ever since I lost my father. But any movie that really deals with family now seems to have more of an effect on me emotionally than others.
Well, like you, me, and Kyle and Tessa all saw this movie at separate times. And it's like Kyle and Tessa just recently lost friends. You lost your dad last year. I lost my grandfather last year. It's like, why the fuck are we watching this movie?
Disney knows like everyone's lost
like some
somebody.
Kind of weird Breakfast Club kind of thing going on. Just like all bonded together with tragedy.
So yeah, and it's by the end of it, like even though I know I know the 2 twists that are going to happen. By the end of it, I'm like, oh, I know what this thing is going to do, and even though I know it, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to cry. Like they're gonna get me on this one, and and even then, like an honorable mention as well to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which, while it has its flaws, its main theme I really respect of like trying to say goodbye to a flawed father figure, one that was not like, I mean, it's even a like abusive relationship at some point, but it doesn't make you not care about them. Like that whole scene at the end is like one of the most emotionally affecting scenes I actually saw this year, and I was just like, wow, and they didn't really pull their punches on it either.
No.
Like, it was like, no, he wasn't a great dude, but he was more my dad than anyone else in the world. So, I think that this movie and Coco kind of share that sort of mentality there. Although Coco doesn't go and like, hey, no, my dad was pretty cool. He was all right, or my great grandfather.
Coco has much fewer dumb nickname jokes too. So.
Oh, you didn't like Taserface? Even though some of these people in the World of the Dead looked like they could have been Taserfaces. We'll wait to our
bottom list for me to talk about Guardians, but go ahead.
So yeah, my top one, sorry for any lack of drum on, but it is Get Out. Like, I thought Get Out was not only like one of the best films I've seen in a while, but also it says something about society that I feel is very relevant and very poignant. It is also just I just can marvel at it on a rewatch. It's actually even a fun movie to rewatch as you see some of the stuff you didn't quite catch before. There's some other scenes that are even just smaller metaphors that are going on. I remember watching a video with Jordan Peele looking up at interview, like he's looking up Reddit theories about Get Out, and there's some things that he didn't mean to symbolism for the be in there,
right?
And then some Redditors like, oh my god, I loved how this scene was like a representative of this, and then Jordan Peele just goes like, oh yeah,
that's totally what I meant to do.
Yeah, totally. So
God bless
and sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, so I thought that it's generally tense and scary. My heart was in my chest during a lot of the final actions, like the final action sequences in the third act. I thought like it's great at that awkward sense of like, I don't know if I should be afraid or not right now, but I am. Like how uncomfortable should I be versus how uncomfortable I actually am right now. It's great. Like that whole being at a party that you're not sure if you're supposed to be at sort of thing.
Or you clearly know you're not supposed to be there.
It taps into an anxiety that I feel has just never been tapped into by any other film before. So, yeah.
And we're white.
Yeah, and I thought like it was very effective. And I can't think of a movie that I thought was
that didn't do more.
yeah, that didn't like it does so much with its premise that like I don't know, I respect it on a lot of levels there. So that's my number one. So that's our top fives of our movies this year. We'll go back into some of our other ones here. I wanted to mention TV. If you guys wanted to mention some of your top TVs, we'll keep these ones the top threes.
Okay.
So, Justin, what were some fun
TV
TV shows you watched this year?
Again, not only did I not watch a lot of TV this year, I don't think I finished any of the seasons I watched, except for Game of Thrones. And God.
Oh, okay.
But, and, actually, no, I finished a few. But there's a lot of them I either just got partway through or got an episode into, and then just life took me away, But, if I had to go with some of the ones I really made an impact with, number 3, it's kind of a tie between Twin Peaks: The Return and Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones, it still had lots of great stuff in it. I think this is a little bit weaker of a season than previous seasons. But I think it's still really solid. It's got a lot of highs. I really hope they stick the landing with 8, because there were a few more pitfalls than usual than I thought in previous seasons. Yeah, no, but then Twin Peaks: The Return, I haven't even finished all of it just yet, because it's a freaking long season, 18 episodes. But, man, Twin Peaks is just an experience. It's a thing that you do, like, you're not even watching it, it just puts you in a state.
Yeah, I've not watched Twin Peaks yet. I don't know, because I have not watched any of the original Twin Peaks yet either. So it'll be a while if I ever decide to actually go through the series. But I hear that overall that the return was actually a success from what I hear from other people, other fans.
It's very solid. It's very well executed. It's beautifully shot, well mixed with the sound and editing, and good actors. There was only one nagging criticism I had, that the main actor who returned, the lead guy from the previous seasons, what they do with his character is a big twist from the original version, and it takes a really long time to get back to what we know about that character. But there's enough good stuff around it that you don't mind that one of the plot threads is kind of dragging. Now, I have technically a fake answer and a real answer for number 2 here. The real answer technically is Feud, the Betty and Joan, the really, really great limited series about the making of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane between Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. It's really fun, very well acted, just super entertaining, and just Ryan Murphy has found his niche. Because after doing all the craziness with American Horror Story and a lot of kind of trashy TV shows like that, he does really good stuff with just biopics and looking into the dramatics of certain things. Like People vs. OJ was great. This is really great. The new, the assassination of Gianni Versace looks really interesting. This is something that works a lot better for him. Now my fake answer, I only say this because it's technically not TV in a traditional sense. And this is almost going to be my number 1, because technically my number 1 is Stranger Things 2. Because I'm not even done with that one. I have 2 episodes left, and it's the big finale stuff. But just from the 7 episodes I've watched alone, even episode 7, it was a little bit weaker, I admit. It's still so, there's not a misstep at all in that season so far. Like, when you think about, just with all the great acting, the great, filmmaking that's going on there and storytelling, it's just so good. But if I have to go with the thing that I've watched more of this year than anything else, and I've talked about it before, just Team 4-Star in general is my favorite TV this year. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I discovered Team 4-Star this year, because I avoided it for...
Oh, did you
not only discover it
that's
why I made such a big deal about it when I finally started watching it, because...
Oh, so you've gotten to binge watch all of it, like in a relatively... So no wonder you're so jazzed on
that's
it,
one thing
right?
where it's like, I always heard about it, I just assumed it was some dumb parody thing because it was YouTube. And then finally one day, I bought Dragon Ball Z, the first season on Blu-ray, and I just figured, alright, let's just see what this show is about. And then at some point I'm like, gosh dang, this is hilarious, with all the...
It's... Yeah, it's really good. The Team 4-Star guys, they you got to give them their cred. They know how to make a parody. Like it's Dragon Ball Z's version of Spaceballs. If it actually
the
used
best thing
Star
about
Wars
it is that it's not just what we think of fan parodies, where people just make fun of how stupid something is, which is kind of the fault of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged in comparison. But Team 4-Star knows how to actually write story with it. Like, it's not just making fun of Dragon Ball Z, but it's just retelling Dragon Ball Z as a comedy. And I think,
in a shorter format.
It's like, what was that episode? Damn it. It's like that one anime that I forget the name of that they didn't, when they made the English dub of it, they didn't have the script or they thought it was boring. Yeah. So they just decided to make up their own script in it and make it a comedy. And it was a big hit among Western audiences. Samurai Pizza Cats. Yeah, that's what it was.
That thing was fucked up.
It's like, Samurai Pizza Cats was that one where it was just like, we don't know exactly what's going on, so we have to make the best guess of what's happening. And Dragon Ball Z is like that, only it has a story that it tells in a concise manner.
Just they maintain character, they establish the characters early on, and they actually evolve the characters as the abridged series goes on. They have recurring jokes and themes and topics that they keep going with. Freaking all the actors are great. Every single one of the Team 4-Star guys are great actors. And it's just funny. Like, it's just, even if you've never seen Dragon Ball Z, which obviously you'll enjoy it more if you've seen it, but you will love it even as just a great, straightforward comedy series. And not just Dragon Ball Z, but I also have to give props to Hellsing Abridged and Final Fantasy Abridged. I think that both of them really, really solid. And Hellsing Abridged had maybe one of its very best episodes ever in the last 2 months. And then this new season of Final Fantasy Abridged, it got a little weaker near the end here. There's still one more episode to go, but it's still very consistently funny, especially if you know anything about Final Fantasy VII, that kind of stuff.
I should give this one a watch.
Oh yeah, no, I've always said if we do like a cast that's all about Team 4-Star, we should totally do it, because I could talk about that for a while.
No, I wanted to wait until they came back with their new season, but that might be
speaking of which, did you see the new Christmas episode?
I did. Travis, I don't think I've seen it yet.
Yeah.
Of Hellsing, or?
Yeah, I thought it was, like, they took one of the...
Eradicate the plan to eradicate the Saiyans?
Yeah, it was like, it's a movie, like, they basically kept nothing about the actual plot, and they just made it like, okay, he's Santa instead. Like, it's...
Whenever they do the specials, the DBZ ones, they're pretty good.
Every once in a while they'll have a movie where, like, Return of Cooler is basically the movie. Like, they take that. But every once in a while they'll have a movie like, fuck it. We can't really salvage anything out of this. Like fuck it.
A Tree of Might.
Yeah. Tree of Might. And they'll go like, whatever. Like, we'll Christmas theme it. It doesn't. So yeah, that's a good list then. Travis, how about you? I know you didn't get a chance to watch that much TV as well, but...
I do have my top 3. Number 3 is actually going to be the Ozarks.
Okay.
Because that one was something that we had to watch for a Netflix and Kill, and I was just like, alright, this first episode's really selling it here. And this one's just kind of like, God, it's so tense and things just keep going wrong. I want to know what happens next. And it really did do a really good job, just like, now you want to know, like, okay, do these people even survive this show? What is going on here?
every episode ends with this awesome cliffhanger.
Yes.
Like, remember the episode's 2 cliffhanger where I won't spoil it, but where the mom ends it with "I shit you not."
Yes.
That was awesome.
And no, most other shows would not be the episode 2 cliffhanger.
Nope.
That'd be like never happening for one, or be like, oh no, you found out by accident, now we must resolve this tension.
Yeah, she basically goes like, oh yeah, this is some season finale information that you're gonna get
in episode
and
2.
Boom, whatever.
And basically she's like, deal with the children, walks out of the room.
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard some very divisive reactions to this, so I'm excited that you guys really did like it, so.
No, I enjoyed Ozarks quite a lot, and
No,
it's a show that I normally wouldn't, so it's pretty good for me to like it.
No, I dug it, yeah. So that was your number 3?
That was number 3. Number 2 is Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Well, I do agree with Justin that this one does have some holes. It does have some, like, feelings where it's just kind of not as strong as some other seasons. It had so many cool moments in it that I'm just like...
What I like about the season of how this is the season that we're finally starting to pay off some stuff.
Yes. It had character moments, it had payoff, it had enough to keep it going where I'm like, I do hope again that it does kind of continue the payoffs where it's like, nope, you gotta keep giving me things, but it... Oh, Lady Olenna died, and it makes me so sad. She's my favorite character.
She had the most awesome death.
Damn,
that was
she
one of the best
died.
deaths.
Oh, the way she goes out, man, that shit was gangster.
Oh,
like
my
that
God.
was
like I aspire to be that petty. I really do.
You know, and I will say this too, like,
delicious.
just for Game of Thrones, like, even saying with the faults and all, like, some of the stuff they did, like that dragon fight, it's weird where people complain about the payoffs, because it's like, oh, it's so spectacle driven now, and blockbuster. It's like, but that's what we've asked for. We wanted a giant dragon battle, somewhere in this episode, in the show,
That's where it was going to eventually lead to.
Sorry, the show creators gave you exactly what you wanted.
Like, it's not like they've been hinting like, look, the dragons have been getting bigger every season, guys.
Yeah.
This was going to end in a giant dragon fight. Like, that's what was going to go on. I mean, I get that people are upset about the whole time travel sort of thing.
Yeah.
I found it only a problem in that, what was it, episode?
Yeah, that's the weakest episode by far.
Yeah,
7?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel it here. The other places, it's not like it doesn't exist, but I don't care.
No, it uses a plot narrative. Yes, we had to get through the plot now, guys. Come on.
If it gets me to another fucking awesome dragon fight, you could Nightcrawler teleport there. No, I don't care.
It was only
that was
amazing
amazing
episode 6 because that episode overall was just kind of things. Like, I think it gave us room to think about the logistics of the time, where you're just like, so you're telling me Gendry ran across the entirety of the way that they traveled, that was a day or so's walk, and then they sent a message to Daenerys, and then she flew over there, all within a matter of maybe like an hour or two?
Right.
Yeah, like the transitions on those scenes are like, man, it does not feel like a lot of time is passing, guys.
No.
But yeah, that was one of the things that I was like, maybe this season did need an extra episode, so that could be a 2-parter.
Possibly.
Yeah, just some of the other relationship stuff also works out. Like the way Littlefinger's story goes in this season is amazing. I like Arya. Arya's for the win, basically, the whole time.
Sansa doesn't do the stupid thing, so yay.
Yeah. So yeah, while I agree, it's like, yeah, it's probably not the strongest season. I really dig seasons 3 and 4 of that show. So that's where I feel like that's like peak Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But it is still some solid fucking TV that is just really some stuff to watch. But that's only your number 2.
It is.
So I'm curious, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is actually an anime, because I'm a fucking nerd. Deal with it, people.
Yeah.
It is actually My Hero Academia, because it is by far one of the best animes I've seen in such a long time.
God, it's really good.
Like, it is this Japanese comic book, basically, about superheroes. And I'm like, no, this is basically if you cross X-Men with Harry Potter and put it into an anime. I'm like, I am digging it so much.
Man, it is pretty rad.
Like, Justin, even if you don't really watch much anime, you should give this one a shot, because
anime can be good. It's just there's so much anime out there,
Well, here's my opinion. Watch this.
You need a vetter to get you to what are the good anime, and like this is one of them.
This is what I'm here for.
You're gonna want to put this one on your radar. Between this and Attack on Titan, they're like my new favorite animes in the last probably decade, actually. But yeah, that one had a fight to get on my list too, but didn't quite make it.
No,
it was just, not to say that it was bad. I watched a lot of TV this year. Because unlike both of you, my TV list was extensive. It was a real fight to get it down to the top 3.
That doesn't surprise me.
So yeah, Game of Thrones actually did not quite make it.
Okay.
And as much as I liked it, actually what made it on was, of course, Steven Universe is at my number 3.
That's fair.
Steven Universe is consistently one of my favorite shows on right now, currently running. Well, I feel like season, I don't know what the fuck we're on, like 4 or 5.
No one knows what we're on.
Yeah, it's like, the episode, like, I look back at the episodes that released this year, and, they're really good. Like, there's the Lars story arc where they finally make you care about Lars, which I thought was fucking impossible. There's the gems going into space, the prison break, Gareg. There's the whole Gareg episode that I find fucking hilarious. Yeah, it's really solid. I know that there's a whole community now of like, it's cool to kind of hate on Steven Universe. Like, I found a problem, Steven Universe, so that means the whole show is bad. And I get it. If your thing is not emotionality, if you find like plot and story structure and scripts or whatever as like your main go-to,
that's what the most important thing is.
Like, if that's the most important thing to you and you don't give a shit about emotions or whatever. But even then, the storytelling in Steven Universe, it's not bad. It's like, it's really intriguing, the mystery that goes on with his parents and stuff, and the slow bleed out of information of the Gem War and everything. It has a lore and a mythos and a world that it builds. But the main crust of it, what puts it over the top, is just how emotionally smart our main character is. And how empathetic he is with the other characters, and how we root for Steven to, you know, save the bad guy, even if from themselves, sort of thing. Yeah, and I feel like, and it's the politics of it. Yeah, it's important to see an LGBTQ representative show where so many of the characters are LGBTQ representatives, and, you know, we see parallels to not only like relationships via the fusion, but abusive relationships, mother figures, transgender issues, gender identity in overall, broken down in a way that kids, while they might not understand it on a higher level of thinking, they'll internalize it in a way, like in kind of like a more emotional way, like kids are.
Yes,
like that's the way. Like, and so I just like, there's not a lot that I don't love about Steven Universe, and there's nothing I don't respect about it.
I'm just not crazy about the
the fan base kind of suck. I won't get it. Like, a lot of my top 3 have shitty fan bases for whatever reason.
And it's weird too, because anytime we go to a convention, we only meet nice people that seem to like Steven Universe. I don't know if these people are just internet trolls or what they are.
I feel like some of them they're just the loudest people. I like to feel like for every one of them, there's 5 or 10 other people that just love Steven Universe and don't have the time to comment on a YouTube channel.
Could be.
Or a Reddit.
My favorite character is deferent to the creator.
Yeah.
That was fucked. I hate that. Like, just
go away.
Also, my number 2, speaking of shitty fan bases, it's still Rick and Morty.
Oh, Lord. That's actually might be worse than Steven Universe's fan base.
And yes, despite the fan base, Rick and Morty, every time it releases a new episode, I'm just like, God damn it, this show is fucking smart. Like, and it is the exact opposite of Steven Universe, where it is plot completely cold science to a point. But there are moments in the show where, like, you get to know the characters of Rick and Morty and, like, how sad they are. And in this season in particular, Rick goes through a whole, well, not even Rick. Like, Rick actually stays the same. Everybody else goes through a character arc and kind of comes out a better person at the end of the arc.
And that mostly is Rick's character arc, then, is the fact that he doesn't?
Rick has to pretend to be better.
Oh.
Because his plans have kind of fucked up by the end of it. And yeah, there's just really great high concept episodes. Like Pickle Rick is one of the best syndicated episodes I've ever seen, of just like a long running series of just, I'm a pickle for an episode. Let's see how far we can stretch that. Because I turned myself into a pickle rather than dealing with my emotions.
Fair enough.
There's a whole universe of like the multiverse dealing with the Ricks and the Mortys that is now becoming more interesting. There's just so much going on in the show that I just, like, I'm excited to see any new episode. I'm always like, man, I can't wait to see what crazy shit they pull off next. But my number one is surprisingly a newer show out of nowhere. It's The Good Place.
Okay, I knew that was going to be on your list somewhere.
I really want to watch this show because funny enough, the only person I know who doesn't like this is my sister. For some reason, she thought it was really dumb, but everyone else I know loves it. So,
no, even from the few episodes I've seen from Nick watching it, I'm like, okay, this seems really funny.
The Good Place, in what has been 1.5 seasons, has gone through 5 seasons of another show. Every episode is like, oh, here's the new status quo, and here's another fucking thing that we just totally torpedoed. Like, it is so nuts. For those of you who don't know what The Good Place is, it is a show about someone who was wrongfully sent to what their version of heaven is.
And The Good Place.
And it's The Good Place. And she's trying to not be sent back to the bad place. And she meets characters that try and help her along the way. Things, of course, get more complicated. The first season has this fucking amazing ending, which is just fantastic, that I can't spoil for you, but it's awesome. And Ted Danson is killing it here.
Well, Ted Danson's always great.
I know, he's so good. He's got another, like, another sitcom under his belt, and it's always good that he gets paid, but, like, man, he is knocking it out of the park as this version, like, this Good Place version, the director. He's in charge of maintaining the Good Place. Mm-hmm. And he's like, man, something's wrong here. There's something here that shouldn't be. And he's trying to, like, figure it out. And then he has, like, 7 character turns, like, in it, like, that are fucking amazing. The story just goes in and out of nowhere, like, but in, like, the best possible way. The show is nuts. And the fact that it is on, was it an ABC?
NBC, I thought.
NBC? Yeah, it's NBC. You're
it's
right.
Like a really crappy channel. I remember that.
Yeah. I'm like, God damn, I hope this doesn't get canceled out of nowhere. But yeah, I cannot highly recommend The Good Place enough, guys.
I'll be honest, that might be part of the reason I didn't watch it, because I know it's like, if I watch this, it's going to get canceled, because Nick and I cannot watch the same show on that kind of thing.
God,
a network show.
Fucking good. Like, at least watch it for Janet, the service droid or whatever.
Oh my god, you show me a scene where they try to kill her. I'm like, stop it.
She's so helpful. Like, here's the button that will allow you to destroy my internal processor. Will that kill you? No, silly. I'm an automated program. I can therefore not die. Although I do have a defense mechanism where I will beg for my life. It will be very realistic.
And it is realistic.
No, Chidi, look at me. Look at me. I have kids. Look at the kids. Look at their faces. Look at them. Oh my god, so real. It's so realistic. But yeah, what a great show. I know we've been running kind of long here too. We won't go too much longer, but
you were saying Rick and Morty. I mean, I don't think it was the strongest way to end the series, but I really did enjoy watching Samurai Jack for the final season.
Yes, that's...
Man, I tell you what, if we did that half review on when we watched the first 5 episodes, and I was so fucking into it. Mm-hmm. I was like, God damn it, guy, Samurai Jack is back, and it's fucking awesome. And I still think that about the first 5 episodes or so of just how good that revival is.
It is. It's really good.
I also don't think that it ends very strong. No. If it had a stronger ending, it totally would be up here on the list.
The thing with Gendy Tartakovsky is just like, it feels like he's only interested for so long, and then he kind of just like, whatever.
But it's like, it's one of your most famous properties, most beloved properties. Right. You didn't want to stick it out and really think through the ending.
It's the problem that he stuck to the traditional 22-minute format, but then changed it to a serialized format, and it made the ending feel really rushed. That was the biggest problem with it. Like, if it didn't feel rushed, it wouldn't have been such a bad, it wouldn't have been such a weaker ending.
They should have spread it over a couple more episodes,
Maybe.
But also, I did want to go over video games real quick. I know I haven't played a whole lot of them this year.
Okay.
But I did want to mention a couple, we'll start with me this time. Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Was a fun game.
My God, I really liked it. It would have been my top pick, except for it is basically just a miniaturized version of a lot of the other Uncharted. Like it's like a best of. It's like a greatest hits of a band's
it's Uncharted,
album,
but with ladies.
But yeah, Chloe and Nadine surprisingly given enough different of a personality and feel that like, I think this franchise could work with just introducing more characters rather than Nathan Drake.
Well, I mean, do you really need Nathan Drake?
I mean, Nathan Drake is a huge reason people love that franchise because of his personality, of just him being this sarcastic, Naughty Dog version of Indiana Jones. Like, no discount to Nathan Drake. I mean, I get that he looks like a generic white guy, but Nolan North gives a fucking amazing performance as him. And he is one of those, he's a character that will live on in video game history, and there's a reason for that. It's not just because he's a star of a famous, game or whatever.
Right.
It's the fact that he actually is a good character.
I just bought 4 and Lost Legacy recently, so I can't wait to play it.
I'm jealous of you that you haven't even that you have yet to play them yet. You get to go through it with fresh eyes.
Yeah, no, I will say I'm surprised people didn't react more harshly to the fact that technically Nadine is being played by a white woman, playing a black character. So
it's different. For voice
that's the weird
actresses.
thing, like because people make a big deal like Coco, where it's like it has to be all Latino actors and that stuff. And it's like.
We hold movies to a different
it's
standard.
Weird. I mean, I'm not complaining because I love Laura Bailey. She's amazing. But it's funny. It's like, so wait, this, very distinctly black looking woman is being played by the whitest of white women, Laura Bailey.
Yeah. I thought she was supposed to be German too, but actually she's supposed to be a South African. That's her accent.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, okay. So I was confused at it. But like, yeah, Laura Bailey is like one of the best of the voice actresses working right now. And yeah, there's only like 30 voice actors that they hire in LA, it seems like, for video games and TV
30
shows.
is being generous.
So
let's pick out Nolan North.
Yeah, they reuse them a lot. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. Surprisingly enough, Walking Dead, the season 3.
Really?
I really liked that one. I'll tell you what. I really liked the story that they told with the family and the conflict between the two brothers. I liked, surprisingly enough, Clementine really works as this side character, kind of like in Dragon Age, where you get to meet your version of Hawk as an NPC. It actually feels pretty neat to see her come into her, because she's basically come into her own character now, and like outside of your control. I like that. It gives you like this whole letting the character grow like you are her parent sort of feel.
Okay.
That, and I just, I don't know, I really like some of the decisions of it at a certain point too, especially the final conflict between the brothers, of where, there's a point where the Telltale games like tell you like you kept your father's promise when you promised to help protect your brother. Okay. That little message comes up and it's like, damn it, I didn't manage to subtitle text message to really make me feel something, and that really did make me feel like, oh, geez, I did all right.
No, I really liked it too. It didn't make it to my top 3 list, but it's just funny going over the reviews that I did with We Are Error for that, and just how drastically we disagreed with me and Chris Herman specifically. Although I know John and I were both like, yeah, we actually kind of liked it quite a bit. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it came across how much I liked it or not, because I remember, because I always, I was on Chris's side of like, what's his name? The brother is a jerk, but I thought that worked way better in the story that he is a jerk. Like, yeah, so I actually liked it. I'm not sure if it came across if I was bitching about it or not, but my number 1, surprising even me, is a fighting game.
Oh, yes. I am actually not super surprised.
This might be my number 1 as well, so go ahead.
Dude, Injustice was so fucking good this year. Justice 2. Look, the fighting is pretty solid. I'm an easy lay for a superhero game. I'll be honest about it. It's right up my alley. The storyline in it is fucking compelling.
It is.
It's like really.
It's a well thought out
dude.
universe. Like Injustice 1 had a good story. This one took those elements and made an even better story out of it, I think.
There's like a couple second fight via the Flash where they fight on this highway versus the Reverse Flash. That is like really compelling and greatly shot. That I'm like, oh my god, that's the standard I'm going to set the Flash movie now to, because that was an amazing fight.
They even have a great moment with Harley Quinn in it.
Well, Harley Quinn gets to be a good guy now.
Yep.
And Batman gets to be a nicer character because the world needs him to be, because there's no Superman anymore in this universe.
There's no balance. He has to be the balance.
So it gets him a chance to be a more openly and funny character, and it feels right by necessity. Like, this is something that Bruce would do. And yeah, Harley gets a chance to be like, Harley and Batman have each other's backs. Mm-hmm. Like, they're friends in this universe. And it's on one hand weird, but kind of makes sense on a weird level. Like, because both of them had a really messed up relationship with their previous lover.
Yeah. This one's also great, too. It's like, oh my god, we have a traitor. Who is it? Catwoman. Oh my god, it's Catwoman. Yeah, no shit, guys. Come on, villain. The villains have to kind of get on with it. Like, yeah, it's always Catwoman.
You know, they had a lot of their minds.
I like that they gave a spotlight to a lot of the, C and D list characters, too. Like, even like, I guess they're rising the ranks, but Blue Beetle, Firestorm, Cheetah, freaking Atrocitus, who I really didn't know anything about up to this point. It's just like, yeah, I think the entire roster, even the new DLC characters, they're all been really fascinating. I mean, you get to play as Hellboy and Ninja Turtles now in this game, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, they really are.
Adam,
yes,
right?
Adam, Ninja Turtles, and then one other person, I forget who.
Yeah, it is. It's just super fun. Yeah, like the story is surprisingly meaningful. I think again, Laura Bailey as Supergirl, she has actually one of my favorite kind of versions of Supergirl. She's very vulnerable, especially in that opening sequence of watching her whole world die. Of like, she's very unsure and of not only herself but her cousin. Like whose side is she supposed to be on? Like, it's not cut and dry for her. Like, I like it. Plus, it's Tim Daly again as Superman. It's Kevin Conroy as Batman. We got, I forget who it was, but it's the traditional Bruce Timm voice actors for almost a lot of the returning characters. Tara Strong back as Harley Quinn. And it's cool. It feels like you're playing an alternate universe of the Justice League cartoon.
Mm-hmm. It feels like you're playing like the awesome. Justice Lords, from, pretty much that.
Yes! Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like, you're their own version of the Justice Lords.
Alright, so since we all played this game, let's actually go around. Who's your main?
Who's our main?
Who's your main?
Okay. It's actually split for me. I like, Supergirl was my main for a long time, but I'm really into Black Canary right now.
Yeah, Black Canary is fun.
I really like her counter and kind of like, really up close and personal fighting style. Like, she's a
heavy beater.
Yeah, she can really mix it up, like in a real like nasty kind of close combat quarters thing that I like.
I started off as Scarecrow because I liked his design and his playstyle, but I actually switched up later on to I pretty much main Poison Ivy.
Freddy Krueger voices Scarecrow. Come on.
Yes, that's pretty awesome. And it's funny too because everyone's like, "Oh, well, Poison Ivy's weak. She's just a harasser that has to stay at long range." I'm like, bitch, please! I would go right in there with Poison Ivy and I'd beat the shit out of people. She's a pretty fun character. Like, she can mix it up. She's not just a purely long range character, which I think makes her pretty useful.
It's hard. I don't really have many mains because the instant I feel comfortable at playing a character, I start to suck with them. So I try not to get too cocky. But I seem to alternate between Green Arrow, Swamp Thing, and Cheetah a lot. Which,
okay.
Yeah, no, like, each of them have their own play style that I think really works. Again, it's like, depending on the day I'm playing them, I'm better with some than others, so.
Swamp Thing has this cool, like, swamp teleport that makes me, like, super late. And out of nowhere, so yeah, that's my, top 3 for video games, though. Here we'll go back in the opposite order then. We'll go with Travis. What do you think?
Alright. Well, I pretty much had to look through this and I was like, alright, so what games did I spend like 60 hours or more into this year? There's actually a couple, so there's that. Number 3 on it, just because I have actually not technically beaten this game yet, because it is pretty long and pretty difficult, is Neo. Which, Neo is kind of a game that's a fusion between Ninja Gaiden and Dark Souls.
And you like your Dark Souls mixes.
I do. I think you would like this one, though, Nick.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you haven't tried it. So, this one, unlike Dark Souls, which is more like just turtling, like, okay, you gotta just memory feel through the game. This one actually does have different play styles that you can actually like, no, this is the weapon I prefer. They all have different play styles that you can actually get through.
Oh.
And it actually does take, it's not a memory skill. It's actually like, no, you just get good at this weapon. You can just beat it. Once you get to the bosses, that begins to get iffy, but then just fucking grab a partner.
Okay.
So this one you might it is functionally different than both the parent games it basically comes from, that I think you would prefer it.
Okay. No, that does sound a little more up my alley.
No, and it has this great, like, you're the one white guy in Japan, so you're the hero.
Progress.
Yeah. But it does have this, like, all the side characters are really well designed. They're kind of cool. They have a lot of story, but it's a really cool design at the very least. The bosses are all really unique, for Japanese lore. Mm-hmm. And there's not a whole lot of builds to it. I actually have not played the DLC yet, so I don't know if they added more to it. I was like, oh, there's so many different builds. I'm like, meh. There's not a super lot of builds, but it is fun to make your own character. So that one was actually number 3, just because I will get around to finishing it one of these days. I just have not. Number 2 is actually Divinity Original Sin 2. Mm-hmm. Long title. This is Larian Studios, or Larian, whatever you call them, I think 7th game in this series. I've only actually played, Original Sin, 1 and then number 2, and oh my god. Original Sin 2 is, like, one of the best, like, not actually open world, but just fantasy games I've played in such a long time. Like, it lets you design your own characters, or you can use one of the preset characters that all get their really unique backstories. The combat system is so much fun, but so difficult at times that you spend most of the time like, alright, this isn't going 100% my way, so I'm gonna reload and do it again. Like, there's some points in the game where you almost have to do that, or you are not gonna be able to beat the enemies. Mm-hmm. But the game does let you kind of cheese it at times, where it's like, no, I'm just gonna it has a fun environmental factor where you can be like, okay, well, there's a puddle of water there. I'm going to lure my enemies into it and then throw lightning at it to stun them.
Hey, Bioshock.
Yes, it does have kind of Bioshock rules. Oil can start on fire, gas explodes. It's a really fun combat that lets you kind of build your characters to kind of go off each other, and just kind of, you have to react to the environment really quick, otherwise when shit goes wrong at the game, it's a wipe. You're done. Your whole team will die, and it won't matter.
Yep.
I put, at least 60 hours into that game, and I don't regret a single one. This one is actually, you can play as a co-op game. So I'm like, number 1 is out for PS4, I know. And if number 2, I like number 1, but it wasn't it was a fun game, but I wouldn't put it on my top list, really. Mm-hmm. But, oh my god, if number 2 does come out for PS4, I'm definitely gonna have you try it.
All right.
Because I think this isn't even, it's a really long fantasy game that does have, it's very reminiscent of kind of Dragon Age 1, to be honest. Okay. So it has that bit of a downfall of it, but it is just such a fun to play that it's got a really interesting world anyway. And my number 1 game is also the game I put the most time into, which was Persona 5. Mm-hmm. Because, oh my god, it is such a good game. I am kind of a slut for these games to begin with.
I hear nothing but good about this one.
You wouldn't like it.
Wait, you heard nothing but good, but you're pretty sure you're not going to like it?
Oh, Nick definitely wouldn't like this game. No. Mm-mm.
I'm very particular about my video games.
No, this is definitely people that like JRPGs love this game. There are probably some other people that enjoy it for what it is, but I think that if you don't seriously even if you don't enjoy playing a Final Fantasy game, you're not gonna like these games. There's similarities to them where it's it is a long story. I honestly can't tell if you're gonna like it or not. It has a really interesting cast of characters, except for to be honest, the main best friend character. Slight spoiler, there's a point where he's in trouble. I'm yeah, I don't fucking care. I don't like this character. I really don't.
Damn.
So when they're oh no, something bad's gonna happen to him, whatever.
I was I got another one back at the show.
I mean, to be honest, I found every single character more interesting than him. There's a cat in this game, and he's more interesting than
that cat caught my attention.
Damn.
I don't like him. And it's funny because the Persona games kind of all follow the same character set, where it's they always kind of fill in niche oh, this character's this one, this character's this one. I don't like any of the friend characters. All the best male friend characters are nope, Junpei is boring piece of shit. Oh yeah, nope, that's him in number 4. Yes, I actually forgot who it was. So they're all kind of boring and generic.
Oh, okay.
And number 5 does not fix that problem for me. But I put I think 100 hours into this game. It is a long story. Plus, there's grinding to it too because there's this never ending dungeon. I loved it.
All right, so we'll leave worst of until maybe next episode if we talk about it at all. Because again, I don't really I have even less to say about the worst of.
Didn't have enough time to do it.
But I mean, personally, and in the grand scheme of things, this year was interesting, to say the least.
Lows, we won't get to the rest of the year.
But I feel like as far as pop culture went, it was pretty fun,
pretty good.
We had a really good year. I thought some really interesting, daring, and challenging movies. Even a lot of my top picks were very. I never thought Logan would be a movie I would see, or Thor Ragnarok as the most 80s movie made in the 2010s.
Yeah.
And Get Out at All, or a sequel that I really like to a Lego movie. What the fuck is happening?
That's a thing that exists.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what 2018 holds for us, and hopefully next episode we'll get together and take a look forward, and we'll check out some of the films that are coming to us in 2018, and we'll share our thoughts on that and what we think preempt. But with that, if you want to check us out, email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. Tell us what we missed this year.
A lot.
Yep, and maybe hit us up on Facebook if we missed anything, because if we didn't mention one of your favorite things, yes, we probably did hate it, and we probably do think you're stupid for liking it.
Look at you, Ghost in the Shell.
Your assumptions are right. Your assumptions are right. If we didn't mention. If we didn't mention your favorite thing, we hated it the most.
I did mention that through you.
But we mentioned Blade Runner.
I didn't.
Also, which one did I mention yet? Now I'm too invested. Our Twitter is at UGO Podcast. Tweet at us about your best of the year and what we should be watching and what we're stupid for not watching. And of course, always please subscribe to us on iTunes and help us out by giving us those 5-star reviews. And we will read whatever goes in that review box on the air, word for word. That is my guarantee. We will read your top 10 lists, or 20, or I don't know how much.
Hey, you've committed.
I guess it doesn't matter. I guess how much you can fit in the iTunes summary is basically the limit, guys.
Test it, guys. Test it.
So yeah, abuse that to your will. With that, we're going to get on out of here. We're on Unapologetic Geek Out, and we're out.